The first sequence this video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 726, The New Royal Court. I still want to challenge you, Helebata said coldly. There is no retreating warrior on this grassland. The warrior of 100 battles is just a title, but there are only more than 20 people in the whole grassland who can have such a title. Once you become a warrior of 100 battles, you can immediately attract some nomads who worship the strong to follow you, form your own ethnic group, and have your own tribe. Moreover, the most critical issue is that Helebata himself has a strong character, and bravery is the folk custom of the grassland people. He will never give up the challenge just because of the threat of the wolf pack. The grassland people must use courage and strength to win applause and respect. When Helebata said that he would continue to challenge Yan Liuan, the Wolf King stood up. Suddenly, everyone felt that the originally tall Helebata seemed a little small in front of the Wolf King. Yan Liuan patted the Wolf King and smiled. Okay, don't scare him. After that, the Wolf King laid down meekly again, and even the servant Hassan was surprised at the loyalty of the wolf pack to Yan Liuan. Seeing this scene, other nomads already had a deep respect for Yan Liuan. The grassland people were in awe of all mysterious powers and believed from the bottom of their hearts that there really were gods in this world. Some elderly ladies in the tribe even suddenly knelt down in the direction of Yan Liuan. These were all difficult for people from the Central Plains to understand. I'm afraid that many people from the Central Plains would be a little envious if they saw it. Here, they only needed to show some miracles to be worshipped as gods. Yan Liuan looked at Helebata. Then let's start. Let me see the power of the warriors of 100 battles. Helebata said, you need to explain to your wolf pack and your tribesmen first that this challenge is fair. Even if I accidentally kill you, they can't hold it accountable. Okay, Yan Liuan said to Hassan with a smile. Did you hear what he said? If I am killed by him, you can't care. Yan Liuan patted the Wolf King. You too. As a result, everyone saw the Wolf King nodded. The next moment, Helebata rushed towards Yan Liuan, but he suddenly saw that at this moment, Yan Liuan's face was lit up with fine silver lines, and even his eyes were shining with silver light. The nanorbits that Ren Xiaosu gave to his brother became active in an instant, building a more powerful body function for their master. In the blood, bones, and muscles, nanorbits are everywhere, following Yan Liuan's will and becoming Yan Liuan's strongest helper. Helebata slashed at Yan Liuan with a knife, but the blade could no longer move forward above Yan Liuan's head. Yan Liuan pinched the blade with his palm, just like facing a toy handed to him by a child. With a click, Yan Liuan broke Helebata's knife abruptly. The broken knife cut through Yan Liuan's face due to inertia, but it was always a fraction away from Yan Liuan's cheek. Yan Liuan watched the broken knife fall without blinking. When Helebata's knife ran out of power, he took a step forward and raised his hand to knock on the opponent's heart with a joint of his index finger. The seemingly easy knock made Helebata so painful that he almost went into shock and fainted. He knelt on the ground with his hands covering his heart, as if surrendering to Yan Liuan. The battle started quickly and ended quickly. To outsiders, it seemed as if the gods were teaching his believers a lesson. It was not a battle of equal strength. Everything Yan Liuan did seemed so easy. The tribal leaders who were watching suddenly felt that all this was so natural. If Yan Liuan was not a strong man, how could the powerful wolf pack follow him? No, it was not enough to define him as a strong man. They began to think seriously about whether Yan Liuan was really a god who came to the world, just like Hassan did when he first met Yan Liuan. Yan Liuan stood beside Helebata, holding the blade of the broken knife in his left hand and placing it on his neck. The cold blade made Helebata's body tremble. He didn't speak, as if he was thinking about something. Helebata was still holding his chest and panting violently, and he had no strength to resist at all. Hassan pointed his gun at the heads of all tribes and Helebata's people to prevent them from suddenly causing trouble. Yan Liuan suddenly said, "Today I will set up a royal court here. Helebata's blood will be used to draw the flag of my royal court to warn those who come later. This grassland needs a real king. Killing one person may still not prove that I am qualified to dominate you. Follow me south in half a month. Others can't give you glory and fame, I will give you. What other cons can't do, I will do for you." As he said, the sharp blade in Yan Liuan's hand passed across Helebata's neck, and Hassan immediately ordered someone to bring a wooden basin to catch Helebatu's hot blood. Yan Luiyun turned around. He could actually let Helebatu go to show his kindness. But this grassland does not need a kind king. If you want to unify quickly, there must be a bloody process. Yan Luiyun does not mind showing his kindness, but he has to wait until he unifies the grassland. As for what reaction Helebatu's people will provoke, Yan Luiyun believes that Hassan can handle it very beautifully. At this time, Yan Luiyun saw Sister Xiaoyu in the big tent. Sister Xiaoyu looked at him worriedly. Yan Luiyun walked back to the big tent and whispered, "Will Sister Xiaoyu think that what I did today is a bit cruel?" Sister Xiaoyu touched his forehead. "No, Luiyun has grown into a man. This is what you have to experience. I have also thought that this world does not allow us to be weak. You take a rest, I will go to cook for you." Sister Xiaoyu walked out of the big tent. She looked back at the tent behind her. From today on, this is the king's court on the grassland. It may look a little shabby now, but it is never gold and silver decorations that represent the authority of the superior, but absolute power. Yan Luiyun sat in silence in the tent for a long time. Kikij next to him said, "Let me help you comb your hair." Yan Luiyun was stunned for a moment, then chuckled, "Okay." Kikij went to get a comb, dipped some clean water on the wooden teeth of the comb, and then slid it through Yan Luiyun's now long hair. In fact, even after a battle, Yan Luiyun's hair was not messy. Kikij whispered, "You don't want to kill Helebatu, right?" Kikij could feel the contradiction in Yan Luiyun's heart, as if the other party was destroying something in his heart step by step, and then making his heart harder. To others, Yan Luiyun is a god. Kikij thought so at first, but after more contact, she found that Yan Luiyun was also a person, a flesh and blood person. But she liked the Yan Luiyun in her heart more, no matter what the other party did, right or wrong. Chapter 727, The Strange Canyon. At this time, Ren Xiaosu's team in the Holy Mountain had just arrived at a canyon. Cheng Yu received a message saying that Vanilla's team on the other side had encountered Li Shenton. Now the whole team has lost control, and everyone in the team has to watch Li Shenton perform magic every day. Just at this moment, Cheng Yu actually felt a sense of psychological balance. At least it was not just his team that encountered moths. In contrast, although there was a moth like Ren Xiaosu in their team, there was also a great helper like White Mask. Although White Mask never wanted to communicate with them, Cheng Yu would feel relieved when White Mask stood in the team. Ren Xiaosu looked at the canyon in front of him. The stone walls on both sides of the canyon were as sharp as knives. He whispered to Yang Xianjin, "I always feel that everything I saw and encountered this time is very strange. It's like a whirlpool designed by others, which is going to trap all 6 or 7 teams. It's like the tunnel at the bottom of East Lake, which will collapse at any time." Ren Xiaosu used to despise the fire company because some of the members of the fire company he met were full of nonsense and were not good at frontal combat. But after the fall of East Lake, he re-examined the organization and realized that there was a reason why the Qing family and the thugs attached great importance to Huazhun, and the other party was never a person who would sit still and wait for death. "I haven't heard you mention who is in charge of Huazhun Company," Ren Xiaosu said. "I didn't mention it because Huazhun Company is not controlled by one person. It is different from other consortiums. Other consortiums have a single patriarch, while Huazhun has 5, Yang Xiaojin said. "You can't be sure who is the author of a certain strategy, or whether they are all working together." 5 people. Ren Xiaosu said in surprise. Will they not have grudges because of the uneven distribution of benefits? "This is the uniqueness of Huazhun," Yang Xiaojin said. "It is said that they never have differences in interests, and their positions are not like other consortiums that set up a presidium or board of directors. They are chief scientists in 5 fields. These 5 positions are fixed. Each person leads a research team to study 5 different directions. If someone dies, someone in his team will take over." "Then who do you think is planning the fall of East Lake?" Ren Xiaosu asked. "I'm not sure about that," Yang Xiaojin shook her head. Walking into the canyon, Ren Xiaosu suddenly discovered that there seemed to be traces of excavation and cracks on the stone walls on both sides of the canyon. The canyon was so rocky and rugged, it seemed more like it was made by humans. Everyone noticed this, and Cheng Yu's assistant was surprised and said, "Could it be that this canyon was also carved out of the mountain by someone? There is no need for that. This is not the only way to enter the mountain. Why dig a canyon here? You have to know that they are walking in the mountains, And the fire company has built a road in the mountains, but they just don't dare to walk on it. Okay, stop talking nonsense, Cheng Yu said. Hurry up and pass through here first. The terrain of the canyon is inherently dangerous and easy to be ambushed, so Cheng Yu didn't want to waste any time here. When walking through the canyon, everyone was careful to guard against the sneak attack of the fire, but when they were about to finish the long canyon, there was no movement. It's unreasonable, Ren Xiaosu said. As the home team and familiar with the terrain, the fire company would never give up such a place that is easy to ambush. As he was talking, Lao Su had already walked through everyone to the front of the team and walked out of the canyon first. Cheng Yu sighed. As expected, the greater the ability, the greater the sense of responsibility. Look at the white mask, always walking in front of us to prevent disasters and difficulties. Some people in the team can't do this. There was a hint of innuendo in his words. It was obvious that Luo Lan regarded Ren Xiaosu as a thigh. As a result, Ren Xiaosu and Yang Xiaojun always walked behind him all the way, as if they were afraid of being the first to encounter danger. Ren Xiaosu ignored him. He had seen from Lao Su that there was just an ordinary forest outside the canyon. There was nothing strange, and there was not even an ambush outside the canyon. Everyone followed Lao Su out of the canyon, but at the moment of walking out of the canyon, Ren Xiaosu suddenly saw Cheng Yu's assistant in front of the team suddenly took out a gun and shot at someone next to him. Not only Cheng Yu's assistant, but many people seemed to have gone crazy the moment they walked out of the canyon. In just half a minute, 3 people in the team died at the hands of their own people. Those crazy people held guns and bullets flew in the air. Ren Xiaosu quickly pulled Yang Xiaojun back into the canyon, and called Luo Lan, Zhou Qi, and Da Huayao. He looked at Yang Xiaojun, and saw that Yang Xiaojun had her eyes tightly closed, as if she was struggling. Ren Xiaosu was worried that she was also possessed by a demon, so he prepared to knock her out, but before he could do anything, Yang Xiaojun opened her eyes again. There is something strange in this canyon, save Luo Lan and the others first. At this time, Ren Xiaosu looked at Luo Lan, and he was shocked to find that even Luo Lan and the others were in a very chaotic state, but they just didn't do anything. The bullet from nowhere hit Luo Lan's leg directly, and Luo Lan screamed, but the chaotic state was not over yet, and she even wanted to join the melee in front. Ren Xiaosu saw that the situation was not right, so he quickly pulled Luo Lan back and knocked her out. After all, Luo Lan had only been a transcendent for a short time, while Zhou Qi and Da Huayao were in much better condition. Although they woke up a little slower than Yang Xiaojun, they also woke up on their own. However, the first reaction of the big liar was to lie on the ground and pretend to faint, but Ren Xiaosu dragged him back to the canyon helplessly. What's going on? What happened just now? Ren Xiaosu asked Yang Xiaojun in confusion. Why am I fine? Just when I walked out of the canyon, I began to have hallucinations. In the hallucinations, I saw you drawing a knife against me, Yang Xiaojun said. Then how did you wake up? Ren Xiaosu asked curiously. Oh, I thought you wouldn't do anything to me, this should be fake, so I woke up, Yang Xiaojun said as a matter of course. Ren Xiaosu looked outside and quickly asked Lao Su to knock everyone out one by one in the chaos, trying to stop the turmoil. However, he found that there were other people in the team besides him who remained awake. The young man named Wang Yun shuttled through the crowd and carefully avoided all the bullets. He first knocked out his subordinates one by one and dragged them away. Then he returned to the battlefield and killed 4 people in turn. The other party's eyes were extremely clear, and he didn't look like he was possessed by a demon at all. The people he killed were all spies sent by his competitors. This person actually took advantage of this opportunity to first eliminate dissidents, which can be described as ruthless. However, in such a chaotic situation, saving subordinates first, I don't know what kind of person he is. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 728 Wang Yun's Test. After Wang Yun killed the person he wanted to kill, he immediately withdrew from the battlefield and quietly waited for the others to kill each other. At this time, he deliberately observed and found that the only people who remained awake at this time were Ren Xiaosu, Yang Xiaojun, Zhou Qi, the guide Da Huayao, Cheng Yu, and a woman. There were few women in this team, and now except for Yang Xiaojun, She was the only one sober, which was very abrupt. Before this young woman had always been low-key and didn't even talk much in the team, but now no one could be fake. Anyone who could pass through this canyon and remain awake must be a transcendent. Among them, it is obvious that Ren Xiaosu and the White Mask have the strongest mental power. Wang Yun's mind was only confused for a moment, at most 4 seconds. When he came to his senses, he found that Ren Xiaosu and the White Mask were like nothing happened, and even Yang Xiaojin was fine. He felt that Ren Xiaosu had a problem earlier, and now it seems that the problem is not small, but in terms of mental will, Ren Xiaosu and the White Mask are indeed the strongest, and it is unknown who is more powerful between the two. Wang Yun is not like Cheng Yu. Cheng Yu looks at Ren Xiaosu with tinted glasses. After all, after the rope skipping and nursery rhyme incidents, Cheng Yu really finds it difficult to look at Ren Xiaosu with normal eyes, so he has always had the idea of praising the White Mask and belittling Ren Xiaosu. But Wang Yun feels that Ren Xiaosu may not be worse than the White Mask. You know, people who don't show their talents are the most terrifying these days. At this time, except for Luolan and the others in the team, no one even knows what Ren Xiaosu and Yang Xiaojin are called. Wang Yun feels that he needs to test it. Maybe his powerful memory has appeared in the other party's name, so he can catch the clues. The first echelon of the team has appeared, which is Ren Xiaosu and the White Mask. The second echelon is Wang Yun, Yang Xiaojin, Cheng Yu, Zhou Qi, an unknown young woman, and Song Qiao. These people are the extraordinary people in the team. Wang Yun feels that there is basically no need to rank the rest. Luolan's behavior has puzzled him. He seems to be an extraordinary person, but his mental will does not seem to be that strong, so he is temporarily excluded. This is also a coincidence. Luolan has just awakened, and it is difficult to compare with other extraordinary people in terms of mental will, so Wang Yun directly excluded him. At this moment, Ren Xiaosu has controlled Lao Su to knock everyone unconscious. Yang Xiaojin asked in a low voice, "Did you have no hallucinations from beginning to end?" "Oh, it appeared," Ren Xiaosu said, "in my hallucination, I wanted to pick up a knife to chop you, but I struggled inside. At that time, I thought, how could I chop you? I couldn't chop you no matter who I chopped, so I woke up." Yang Xiaojin rolled his eyes. "There are so many dramas. I see that everyone present is passively attacked, but you are the only one who is attacking others in your hallucination. Okay, stop pretending, you are really not affected at all." At this moment, Yang Xiaojin remembered what she said, when disaster strikes, mental will is the first order weapon for humans to face danger. How strong is Ren Xiaosu's mental will? So far, no consortium or organization in the world has proposed clear standards to define the level of extraordinary people. In fact, who in this world can define this kind of extraordinary ability? Spark can be divided into T1 to T5, because they only look at physical fitness. The level can be defined by comprehensive indexes such as how much power a punch has, or how fast it is. But the abilities of other extraordinary people are unpredictable. How to define them? Positions can define levels, wages can define levels, but how to define extraordinary abilities? So we can only define the danger level. Yang Xiaojin knew that someone in the thugs had already made a list, and wanted to put all the extraordinary people who had appeared in the list into the list for classification, but he didn't know how it was done, and he didn't know what level Ren Xiaosu would be classified into. Cheng Yu frowned on the battlefield. There were more than 60 people in the team originally, and this was the number after the two teams merged. As a result, in such a chaos, 9 people died immediately, 6 people were seriously injured, and 17 people were slightly injured. It was quite tragic. He didn't even know how Spark Company did it. They just walked out of a canyon and started to kill each other. Cheng Yu looked at the people who were still awake. "Did you also have hallucinations? Someone attacked you?" "Yes," Wang Yu nodded. "It seems that there is something strange in this canyon," Cheng Yu said. "Everyone, help rescue the wounded first. Let's wait for them to wake up." "What about these seriously injured?" Wang Yun asked. "Take them with you? In fact, I suggest not to take even the slightly injured with you. Who knows what else is in this holy mountain? The smell of blood is like a target in the mountains." "No, I want to enter the holy mountain." Luolan woke up slowly. He was the first person to wake up. Slowly, everyone outside the canyon began to wake up slowly. Those who were not injured were fine, but the injured people started wailing after waking up. It was better to be unconscious. Luo Lan secretly asked Ren Xiaosu for the black medicine, and then asked Ren Xiaosu to take the bullet for him. Ren Xiaosu glanced at him. Bear with it. Don't worry. Luo Lan had just said half of his words, and Ren Xiaosu took advantage of the moment when he was distracted and used tweezers to accurately clamp the bullet out of his leg. This was done to prevent Luo Lan from being too nervous, so that his muscles would clamp the bullet tightly, which would only increase the pain. Ren Xiaosu threw the bullet aside and said, "Not bad, I didn't cry out in pain." Luo Lan's face was covered with cold sweat. "I was just kidding you, I'm a real man." Ren Xiaosu looked at him again. Usually Luo Lan's complaints seemed to be fake, and he was as frivolous as he could be, as if he was particularly unreliable, but at the critical moment, some of his potential was revealed. "Then what do you pretend to be?" Ren Xiaosu asked. "You are not a lazy person." "I am not strategically confusing my opponent," Luo Lan laughed, and the pain disappeared immediately after the black medicine was applied. At this time, Wang Yun saw that they were chatting more easily, so he suddenly found an opportunity to joke with Ren Xiaosu and asked, "By the way, I still don't know your name after traveling together for so long. How should I call you? We will be traveling together for a long time in the future, and I can't just call you Hey. My name." Ren Xiaosu was stunned. Wang Yun said with a smile, "Yes." "Oh," Ren Xiaosu thought for a while, "Sorry, it's been so long since I came up with a name that I kind of forgot." Wang Yun. This fucking excuse is so lame. Chapter 729 Li Shenton's Gene Sample. In the adult world, if I don't want to answer your questions and find an excuse to refuse, you should give up. Wang Yun understood this truth, but he couldn't understand why the boy had the nerve to find such a poor excuse. However, he was sure that the other party must not be an unknown person, and his name must have appeared in some events in the past, so he didn't even want to tell his name. Wang Yun thought carefully, trying to see if there was anyone in his memory who matched Ren Xiaosu's characteristics. At this moment, Wang Yun suddenly remembered a photo. The photo was not very important, and it was mixed in with some C-class intelligence. Kong's intelligence was also graded, with 4 levels of A, B, C, and D, to divide the importance and urgency. Generally, the intelligence director only looked at A-level and B-level intelligence, and they would just glance at C-level and D-level intelligence at most. Most people would forget it immediately after reading it, but Wang Yun was different. His memory was really good. The photo was of 2 sculptures that had just been erected on Wangxinmen Street in Luocheng. Although King Group had tried its best to hide the true figures of the 2 sculptures in the sculptures, the girl's peaked cap was still in Wang Yun's mind. Wang Yun had not paid attention to this matter before. There were so many girls wearing hats. 2 years ago, a popular star in the Central Plains particularly liked to wear a peaked cap, so many girls imitated him. But now, it was clear that Ren Xiaosu's strength was probably higher than his, so Wang Yun's scope of reasoning would be infinitely narrowed. In just a moment, Wang Yun began to guess that he had heard about the battle on Wangxinmen Street, but because the people of the Kong family were killed by Wang Wenyan, he had no specific information. Now it seems that the boy and girl in front of him are very likely the ones who defeated all the consortiums in that battle. That is, the legendary extraordinary person who destroyed the city and the stronghold in the northwest. Thinking of this, Wang Yun was a little surprised and doubtful. Not to mention that he didn't know where his backup had gone. Even if those backups were still following him, he was not sure if he could beat the guy in front of him. Moreover, the White Mask had also appeared in Los Angeles, and it also helped King Group and the Knights. Now the boy and the White Mask appeared at the same time. Could it be a coincidence? He didn't believe that there was such a coincidence in the world. Wang Yun has always been very conceited, but he is also very self-aware. He knows that his greatest advantage is his brain, identity and the help brought by this identity. He is indeed very strong in supernatural abilities, but definitely not the strongest. Wang Yun knows that the strongest group of supernaturals have begun to gradually leave the category of human beings. However, Wang Yun thought that he had not offended the other party, and the 2 sides were not on opposite sides. It's just that this time, the other party came to the Holy Mountain, and I'm afraid it's the fire company that will have a headache. Thinking of this, Wang Yun's mood slowly calmed down, and he was even a little worried about the fire company. Of course, Wang Yun felt that these 2 people alone might not be enough to deal with the entire fire. After all, the fire had been prepared for a long time, and I don't know what big pits were waiting for them. Wang Yun was excited. He wanted to witness this battle very much. It would be great if Fire and the young man in the white mask were both injured. However, what Wang Yun didn't know was that on another road into the mountain, Li Shenten, Zhou Yingsu, and Si Liren were preparing to enter the canyon with their team. The canyon that Li Shenten and his team faced was almost exactly the same as the one Wang Yun and his team encountered. As they guessed, this was a barrier left by Fire Company, which could easily intercept most of the uninvited guests passing through here. If it weren't for Ren Xiaosu and Lao Su, the death toll of Wang Yun's team would have exceeded 30. Li Shenten was holding a small red flag and said, "Come on, the team members behind you should follow closely. I emphasize again that after entering this canyon, you should just keep your eyes on this small red flag and don't look around. Do you understand?" The team responded sparsely at the back, "I understand." Li Shenten seemed not satisfied with everyone's reaction, so he said, "Have you not eaten enough? This canyon is very dangerous. If you don't understand, then for your safety, I can only hypnotize you." Vanilla took the lead and shouted, "I understand." Vanilla felt powerless in her heart. In the past few days, Li Shenten often said that he would hypnotize everyone. Everyone knew that this was a threat, but they had no energy to resist. Cheng Yu was fooled by Luo Lan's rogue temperament and took the lead. Everyone also wanted to see Cheng Yu's joke. But it was different for Vanilla and the others. Everyone cooperated with Li Shenten in this way, completely following their inner desire to survive. In the legend of Li Shenten, this was a man who killed 4,000 or 5,000 people without blinking an eye. Their number was not enough to fill the gaps in his teeth. At this time, Li Shenten was like a tour guide, holding a small red flag and walking in the front. He explained as he walked, "The problem of this canyon is not mysterious. You can see that there are traces of man-made excavation on the wall. Do you think that the Fire Company has nothing to do, right? It must have excavated a useless canyon here? No, every trace of excavation here is to hypnotize you. Although I don't know what it is used for, after walking through this canyon, you may have hallucinations, kill each other, or become a vegetable from now on." Vanilla muttered to the side, "How can it be so mysterious?" Li Shenten turned his head and looked at Vanilla with a smile, "Don't you believe in my expertise?" No. Vanilla shook her head quickly. Li Shenten said with a smile, "I don't know why there are people who are proficient in this technique in Huazhong, but I know that a few years ago, the genetic samples were stolen in the Li's mental hospital where I was, and it is very likely that Huazhong Company did it." Vanilla was stunned for a moment. They really didn't know about this. Li Shenten thought, "Then will I meet another me here?" At that time, Xiao Liren hadn't come in yet, and they didn't get Xiao Liren's genetic samples, but my genetic samples were indeed stolen by them. It seems very interesting to think about it. Vanilla and others fell into worry when they heard this. If there was another demon whisperer from Huazhong Company in this holy mountain, it would be too dangerous. But just when they were worried, they saw Li Shenten turned around and said to them with a smile, "Don't worry, if there is another me here, I will kill him." Vanilla was stunned. "Why? Don't let him go out and steal my limelight," Li Shenten said as a matter of course. Chapter 736. Most people don't know that the gene samples of Li's mental hospital were stolen. At that time, the various consortiums had just discovered the matter of extraordinary people, and they didn't take it as seriously as they do now. So when the Fire Company's theft plan went very smoothly, the mental hospital was even guarded by private troops. This kind of defense force was nothing to Fire. If Fire hadn't accidentally angered Qing Zhen, they might have been more unscrupulous in the southwest. However, many people didn't expect that the two most dazzling extraordinary people had appeared in the mental hospital in the southwest, and even the entire area of the Rise of the Gods was opened by them. Li Shenten, Chen Wudi. When Vanilla knew about this, she instinctively felt that something was wrong. Li Shenten couldn't tell the enemy from the friend, so who could bear it if another demon whisperer appeared in the holy mountain? Exclamation mark. And this is not just a demon whisperer, there may be more difficult characters. In the past, everyone's perception of Fire Company was that their battle sequence did not have any special abilities, but their physical fitness was strong enough. Some people have wondered, hasn't Fire collected many extraordinary gene samples, but they haven't replicated anyone's abilities? Since you can't replicate an identical extraordinary person, why bother to capture them? But now, the canyon next to him has proved that Fire actually has the ability to replicate. Fire has always been doing this kind of thing that violates scientific ethics, but the outside world doesn't know about it. Legend has it that fire has T6 above the T5 level, so Vanilla thinks she may have guessed what T6 is. And this time, fire brought everyone to the holy mountain to create more T6? Li Shenton looked at Xiankeo, who frowned and smiled. Don't worry, it's not that scary. Xiankeo glanced at Li Shenton and thought to himself, don't you know how scary you are? He said unhappily, let's make it clear first, don't hypnotize me, I'll tell you something real. If there's really someone in this mountain who has the same ability as you, it will be a disaster for all of us. Please tell us honestly, if we really meet someone, what should we do? Li Shenton pondered for a while. It seems that you really have no way, you are too weak. Xiankeo suddenly felt bad. Don't say this so seriously, okay? But don't worry, there are people in this mountain who I can't do anything about. Li Shenton laughed strangely. If there is really another demon whisperer in this holy mountain, then that person will definitely give him a big surprise. Just think about it and look forward to it. Xiankeo felt a little powerless. He found that Li Shenton was inexplicably excited. But he thought about it carefully and felt that it was not right. Li Shenton actually admitted that there are still people in this world that he can't do anything about. What kind of person is this legendary strong man who feels inferior to him? Could it be Zhou Yingxu's boss? Exclamation mark. This is not difficult to associate. Moreover, Li Shenton said with a smile, the reason why extraordinary people become extraordinary people is because of their spiritual will. What is spiritual will? The innate conditions determine the lower limit, and all acquired experiences and mental synthesis determine the upper limit. How can a monster that has been caught beat me? As he spoke, Li Shenton's strong self-confidence was as real as a substance. It was the first time that Vanilla saw Li Shenton so arrogant. Yes, this is what the devil whisperer should look like in the legend. Vanilla was about to say something, but was surprised to see Li Shenton raise the little red flag again. Okay, don't be distracted and keep up with the team. I'll give you a brief introduction to this canyon. Look at the fine carvings on my left-hand side. In fact, it is to guide you to open your subconscious mind as you move forward, and then use patterns to hint at your subconscious mind. Just take a look and don't look at it too much. Return your gaze to the little red flag. Yes, keep going with me. At a certain moment, Vanilla suddenly felt that Li Shenton was really like a tour guide, and he even had an explanation function. At this time, Ren floated beside Li Shenton and whispered, do you think there will really be another you here? Your question is not accurate, Li Shenton corrected. It's just that there may be someone with similar abilities to me, not another me. Oh, Ren nodded. Then can you really beat him? Of course. Li Shenton said. Why? Ren still didn't understand Li Shenton's confidence. He may have received years of training in this mountain and mastered many ways to kill people. And you go out to perform magic tricks every day and don't do your job. Why do you think you can beat him? Li Shenton held a small red flag in one hand and played with the exquisite silver coin in the other. He thought for a while and said, because he is incomplete. What is incomplete? What makes people human? Ren was silent for a long time and muttered, isn't it because he doesn't have me by his side? Ren had been asking for a long time just now, but in fact she wanted to hear this answer. She didn't care about other messy reasons at all. Li Shenton was stunned for a moment. This statement is a different approach, with a novel angle. But I agree that Ren is the best. Ren laughed, that's about right. Cheng Yu and others on the other side were ready to camp outside the canyon. Wang Yun saved everyone on his side, so of course he could say that he would leave even the slightly injured behind, but others would not do so. If their teammates were injured, they would have to postpone their journey. Cheng Yu glanced at his mobile phone. There was no signal in the canyon before, and he received a message from Anjing Temple after leaving the canyon. Other teams suffered heavy casualties. Now there are 6 teams heading towards the hinterland of the Holy Mountain like them, and they have also encountered the same canyon. It is unknown when the fire company built this canyon. From the beginning of its birth, its significance is to resist foreign enemies and harvest lives. Ren Xiaosu saw others preparing to set up tents and stopped them, saying, don't camp here. Someone looked at Ren Xiaosu and said, why? With so many wounded, it's no longer suitable for us to move forward. Another person said coldly, if you want to abandon the wounded, go into the mountains by yourself. Anyway, we are not leaving. Wang Yun looked at Ren Xiaosu with interest. He really wanted to know what the young man was going to say. At this time, Ren Xiaosu stood up and asked Luo Lan and others to leave with him. As he stood up, he said, "Camping here is no different from waiting to die." Chapter 731 Perfect Level Skill Learning Map. Chang Yu looked at Ren Xiaosu preparing to take Yang Xiaojun and the others away, and was a little confused about what he was talking about. How could camping be associated with waiting to die? What do you mean? Chang Yu asked. Was this place designed by the fire company? Ren Xiaosu asked. Of course, who else could it be besides them? Chang Yu said. Then what does the fire company want? Ren Xiaosu asked. What the fire company wants is, of course, the gene samples of the extraordinary. So, after the tarantula attacks the team, someone from the fire company will immediately go to collect the gene samples. And this time, all the teams suffered heavy casualties. If they camped on this spot at this time, they would probably be besieged by the fire company immediately. This is not a guess without evidence, but a necessity. The other people present are not fools. Ren Xiaosu just nodded, and they reacted immediately. No matter what injuries they suffered, they all climbed up from the ground. Yang Xiaojun watched this scene silently. If those private troops had listened to Ren Xiaosu's advice more in Jingxin, they would not have been wiped out. No, the whole army was not wiped out. There is still one Su Xianchu alive. When preparing to leave, Wang Yun's led his men to do some tricks in the nearby woods, but no one saw clearly what they did. Cheng Yu asked curiously, "I saw you took a grenade just now, what are you going to do?" Wang Yun smiled and said, "Of course, it's to leave a surprise for the people of Huazhen." The route chosen by Ren Xiaosu deviated slightly from the original plan. He did not go directly to the hinterland of Huazhen Holy Mountain, just to avoid running into the combat troops of Huazhen Company. Before they had gone far, those who had questioned Ren Xiaosu heard an explosion from the direction of the canyon. It should be that the grenade trap set by Wang Yun was detonated by the people of Huazhen. At this time, everyone was relieved that they left early, otherwise the team would have lost members again. Cheng Yu found a place to sit down in the leeward. A wounded soldier suddenly said, "Many of you are extraordinary people. In fact, even if you encounter the frontal troops of the Fire Seed, you may not be afraid of them. It's just that you are unwilling to contribute. We haven't entered the hinterland of the Holy Mountain yet. I calculated that it will take at least 2 or 3 days to arrive. Now we have lost so many people. It's not a good thing for you, right?" Another seriously injured soldier was put on the ground by his teammates. The wounded soldier was gasping for breath and was about to die. "They are injured today, and we will be injured tomorrow. In a place like this where there is no backup, the end of injury is death," said a middle-aged man. "What are you talking about now?" Luo Lan curled his lips. "We are all here for profit, don't treat us like martyrs." But no matter what Luo Lan said, it couldn't change this fact. Even if everyone came from different forces, they came in with the same purpose. The death of others also made everyone feel inexplicably depressed. Suddenly, Ren Xiaosu heard the voice of the palace in his head. "Mission, let the wounded see hope." Ren Xiaosu frowned. The definition of this mission was too general. How could he let them see hope? He looked at the wounded, then at Luo Lan, and suddenly took out a small bottle of black medicine, and pointed at the wound on Luo Lan's leg. "This is my family's ancestral prescription." Luo Lan was also shot just now, but his wound has begun to heal. It only takes another 8 hours for him to move freely like a normal person, and the wound will be healed in 2 days. When everyone heard this, they immediately turned their eyes to Luo Lan. Sure enough, the gunshot wound on the fat man Luo's leg had stopped bleeding. Just now, someone noticed that Ren Xiaosu was secretly applying medicine to Luo Lan, but they didn't expect the medicine to be so magical. Everyone's eyes lit up, and then they saw Ren Xiaosu put the black medicine back into his pocket. Cheng Yu wondered, "Didn't you take out this medicine for everyone to use? Why did you put it away again?" "Oh," Ren Xiaosu explained, "I just wanted you to take a look." Cheng Yu. The wounded. In Ren Xiaosu's understanding, the palace issued the task just to say that he wanted his teammates to see hope, and they had already seen it, so taking a look was enough. The palace said, "The task is completed, and the reward is a perfect skill learning map." Ren Xiaosu was stunned for a moment. He wondered if the completion of the task was linked to the reward standard, then did the palace also think that he did a great job? For a moment, Ren Xiaosu was a little confused about what the palace wanted him to do. However, no matter what, this reward is a perfect skill learning map, and he hasn't seen such a good thing for too long. Ren Xiaosu has been thinking about Luo Lan's skill of resummoning dead friends for too long, and he has placed too much expectation on this skill. In this world, human life is as worthless as weeds. You may be chatting and laughing with your friends 1 minute, and danger and disaster will befall everyone the next second. Maybe those friends are not free after becoming the golden shadow behind you, but this is the only skill that Ren Xiaosu has seen so far that can continue life. Moreover, Luo Lan's dead comrades clearly still retain a clear mind. Because Luo Lan's own mental power is limited, he can't let those golden shadows stay outside for a long time, but Ren Xiaosu is different, he can. I think Luo Lan also cherishes the lives of those soldiers sincerely, so he will awaken such a skill. Extraordinary ability is the continuation of a person's spiritual will. But just when Ren Xiaosu was about to use this perfect level skill learning map on Luo Lan, he hesitated again. Because Ren Xiaosu knew that Luo Lan was a player who pretended to be a pig and ate the tiger. The other party must have many master level skills. What if he didn't draw that extraordinary ability? How can life be so smooth and always come true? In the past, the skills he had drawn might have been due to Yan Liu's luck, but now he didn't have this luck, so Ren Xiaosu had to be more cautious. Ren Xiaosu looked at Luo Lan and thought, should he first destroy Luo Lan's other master level skills, and then use this map? How to destroy them, breaking his hands and legs. Luo Lan found that Ren Xiaosu was looking at him, but he always felt uneasy and had a bad premonition. As a result, the palace said, 3 perfect level skill learning maps can be used to learn designated skills. Ren Xiaosu's eyes lit up. Although it was a bit of a waste to use 3 to learn 1 skill, it was definitely worth it when facing particularly important skills. Chapter 732, Inciting Wang Yun to Revolt. If it was someone else's skill, Ren Xiaosu would definitely not waste 3 perfect level maps to learn 1 skill. After all, 3 maps can learn 3 skills. Although he might draw something useless at the moment, it might come in handy in the future. Of course, Ren Xiaosu was not referring to skipping rubber bands. At this time, Ren Xiaosu asked the palace in his mind, when will you release the next task? But the palace replied, I have no authority to inform you. Ren Xiaosu pondered, this time the answer felt like it depends on my mood. Well, he couldn't do anything good with this palace, so he could only wait for the other party's task. While Ren Xiaosu was thinking, a wounded person looked at Ren Xiaosu, do you want to sell your medicine? There are still smart people here, Ren Xiaosu said with a smile, there is no such thing as a pie in the sky in this world. Tell me, how much do you want to pay for the medicine? At this moment, this group of people, as Luo Lan said, entered the holy mountain for profit, not for the people of the world. What does life and death have to do with him, Ren Xiaosu? Therefore, the medicine can be given, but it must not be given for free. 20,000 is okay. The wounded asked. No, Ren Xiaosu shook his head. This medicine is collected from an extremely dangerous place. 20,000 is not enough for my travel expenses. 1 million per person. No deal for less than 1 million. You should all have anonymous accounts with you for emergencies. Don't give me excuses like you don't have money. Think carefully about whether your life or money is more important. The wounded man's face turned bitter when he heard 1 million. Since we were in the same industry before, please give me a discount. Ren Xiaosu was stunned. Colleague? Are you a doctor too? The wounded man explained. No, I was a robber before. Ren Xiaosu. Ren Xiaosu's face suddenly turned dark. Do you still want to be treated? Before the wounded man could speak, he heard Wang Yun beside him suddenly say, well, let me ask you how many bottles of this medicine you have here. 3 bottles, Ren Xiaosu looked at Wang Yun. Enough for more than 10 people. What do you think? Then I'll pay 6 million to buy them for everyone. What do you think? Wang Yun said, 1 price. This way you can have less worries. Okay, Ren Xiaosu threw the 3 small porcelain bottles into Wang Yun's hands. At this time, the wounded looked at Wang Yun eagerly. It was not easy to meet a good person in such a place these days. But after Wang Yun handed the bank card with an anonymous account to Ren Xiaosu, he smiled at the wounded with a bottle in a playful manner. Look, the medicine is in my hand now, I can sell it to you at a lower price. He wants 1 million, And I only have 500,000, but you are not ordinary people. How can you take your life so lightly? So you have to exchange it for a piece of information worth 500,000. Wang Yun himself is an intelligence agent. Usually, if he wants to buy valuable intelligence, he has to pay a huge price. Now he wants to use these people's desire to survive to exchange for some useful intelligence, which is much easier. It's not that Wang Yun is so dedicated that he is still thinking about his job as an intelligence agent at this time. But after he found out that there were too many monsters in the Holy Mountain this time, he felt that he might not be able to capture Subject 001. After all, knowing Ren Xiaosu's identity, he was not sure that he could get away with it from the Barrier Destroyer and the White Mask. And Chang Yu also said that there was a Devil Whisperer in the other team, which made it even more difficult. Wang Yun thought that the Devil Whisperer and the Barrier Destroyer sounded like they were a good match, and he didn't know if the two knew each other. It would be great if the two could fight, but if they didn't, Wang Yun was not a match for either of them. So in order not to go back empty-handed, he had to leave a way out now. Even if he didn't get Subject 001, with this important information, he could still take credit for his work when he went back, and Kong Donghae would know who was the most reliable person. You all know my memory and analytical ability, Wang Yun said with a smile, so don't try to fool me with some unimportant information or false information. Ren Xiaosu watched from the side, thinking that Wang Yun's thoughts turned quickly. The big liar next to him said in a very low voice, "Young Marshal, do you still have the medicine? Fight with him for the intelligence." As a result, Wang Yun turned to look at Ren Xiaosu. "I know you still have the medicine, but I will share the intelligence I got with you, so please don't make trouble. Maybe you are stronger than me, but I am better at analyzing the authenticity of intelligence, so why don't we cooperate?" Ren Xiaosu nodded and took back the black medicine he had just got. The big liar sighed. This Wang Yun is a smart man. Why did he choose to serve the Kong family? Such a talent should be used to develop the Northwest. The Kong family is too bureaucratic, and smart people may not live long there. But it's different in the Northwest. The old guy Wang Fengyan likes to recruit such monsters. You see, his action of saving his teammates first before shows that at least his heart is good. Such a person is suitable to go to our Northwest to be influenced by his comrades. Then you go and tell his fortune, Ren Xiaosu said with a smile. No need to tell fortunes, the big liar whispered. Young Marshal, when you exchange information with him later, stand in a clever position. I have a miniature camera here. Use the misalignment to take a photo of Luolan and Wang Yun together, creating a feeling that he is whispering with Luolan. Kong Haidong is a suspicious person. If this photo is given to the Kong family, Wang Yun will never be reused. How can a person like him be willing to be under someone else for a long time? Then Wang Fengyan will have a chance to rebel. Ren Xiaosu looked at the big liar in surprise. Is this going to force Wang Yun to do something stupid? Do you do this kind of thing often? The big liar said shyly. You can't always do the same thing as Daxing Northwest. However, at this moment, a seriously injured soldier could no longer bear it and died before the black medicine was taken. Wang Yun didn't feel sorry. All his teammates along the way were competitors. If they died, they died. But something strange happened. The wounded man had just died, but gray tentacles stretched out from the weeds on the ground and pierced into the body. The body quickly disintegrated like a wax figure melting. Everyone stood up in shock, looking at the ground with fear, fearing that something would pierce their feet. But after waiting for a long time, there was no other movement. Soon, the body disappeared completely, and even the clothes were completely decomposed into dust. This scene was too weird. Ren Xiaosu and Yang Xiaojun looked at each other. Almost at the same time, they remembered the mysteriously missing body and fish bones in Jingshan. Chapter 733 Intelligence Feedback. When they were in Jingshan, the whole team was worried because of the disappearance of the teammate's body. Ren Xiaosu still didn't understand why the fish meat and bones disappeared until today. The body can also be explained as being dragged away by the experimental subject. But the experimental subject shouldn't be so useless as to steal fish meat and bones. Now, the answer to this puzzle finally appeared in front of Ren Xiaosu. He looked at his feet with an inexplicable palpitation, unable to determine what was hidden underneath. Ren Xiaosu controlled Laosu to dig the ground with his bare hands, trying to find the trace of the strange plant. This scene stunned Cheng Yu and others next to him. They thought that this white mask was too fierce. Wasn't he afraid of the plant attack? Everyone looked at Laosu silently, But Lao Su dug half a meter deep and didn't see anything strange. The gray silk seemed to have retreated deeper into the ground after absorbing the corpse. Does it only devour corpses? Cheng Yu's assistant asked in confusion. We have so many wounded here, and a lot of blood has dripped onto the ground, but we didn't see it before. It didn't appear until that person died. We can't be so sure. Ren Xiaosu shook his head. It's possible that it would attack us even when we were sleeping. It's hard to say for sure. If we look at the situation in Jingshan, Cheng Yu's assistant's inference is indeed correct, but the other party would never devour corpses in front of others at that time. Ren Xiaosu suspected that the strange plant here was much stronger than the one encountered in Jingshan. Of course, this inference is also reasonable. After all, the changes in the Holy Mountain appeared earlier than those in Jingshan, and it has been more than a year since the trip to Jingshan. Then how are we going to sleep at night? This was the first thing Luolan was concerned about. I see many people only brought tents, not even moisture-proof mats. They can't protect against this stuff at all. Ren Xiaosu looked up at the tree and pointed at the branch. Then we can only sleep on the tree. Luolan looked up at the top of his head in embarrassment. He tried to climb up, but just when he lay on a branch, the branch was broken by his sturdy body. With a plop, Luolan fell and grimaced. Is there any other way? If you want to survive, find a thicker branch. Ren Xiaosu sighed. Although it may be too much, it's always right to be careful. Luolan thought about it and silently went to find a thicker branch. The essence of Ren Xiaosu's survival in the wilderness lies in this sentence. It's always right to be careful. At night, everyone sat in front of the campfire in silence. Fortunately, Wang Yun had completed the exchange of information and the wounded had been treated. Although he still looked miserable, at least his wounds didn't hurt anymore, and he knew that he wouldn't die from wound infection. Some of these people exchanged intelligence for black medicine, and some simply spent 1.2 million to buy black medicine from Wang Yun. Wang Yun didn't do anything too extreme, and he also wanted to have more companions on the way to the Holy Mountain. Wang Yun kept his promise and found Ren Xiaosu and said, there are only 5 important pieces of information here. I'll tell you one by one. The first one was given to me by the young woman at 9 o'clock. She is a transcendent. She was the 6th person to wake up when we left the canyon before, Wang Yun said. According to my observation, she has 6 companions here. The specific forces are still to be determined. If I have any clues, I will share them with you. Ren Xiaosu looked at Wang Yun in surprise. The feedback from this intelligence was more abundant than he had imagined. He thought Wang Yun would fool him. So, Ren Xiaosu asked seriously, what do you want? It's so easy to talk to smart people, Wang Yun said with a smile. I don't want much, I just hope that if you can really enter the core area of the Holy Mountain and find the number 001 experiment subject, you can give me a copy of his gene sample, and I don't need to take him away. The reason why Wang Yun provided Ren Xiaosu with so many super value services was because he wanted to borrow strength. Since he was not strong enough, it was the basic principle of intelligence workers to borrow the power of others. Now that he was 80% sure that Ren Xiaosu was the barrier destroyer, it would be a bit stupid if he didn't hug his thighs. Therefore, Wang Yun wanted to use his best ability to exchange some benefits from Ren Xiaosu. But Ren Xiaosu shook his head. Sorry, I can't promise you this. Why? Wang Yun was a little surprised. I can't provide this. Do you have any other requests? Ren Xiaosu said. If the number 001 experiment subject was really Yan Liuan, how could he use Yan Liuan's gene sample to exchange intelligence with others? Wang Yun was silent, his mind was spinning. It was not difficult to extract a gene sample from subject 001. The human body has so much blood and cell tissues. It was just a gene sample. Why was the boy unwilling to give it to him? Unless the other party knew subject 001, or knew more about it, and had a reason not to give it to him, at least in Wang Yun's opinion, he could not think of the other party's reason. However, Wang Yun was not particularly persistent. Instead, he smiled and said, it doesn't matter if you can't give it to me. Then change someone else and keep me alive as long as you can. If your friends and I are in danger at the same time, you can save them first. Ren Xiaosu looked at Wang Yun. The other party's condition was not excessive. The 4 words to the best of one's ability were completely up to Ren Xiaosu to judge. Rather than calling it a transaction, it was just a verbal agreement. Ren Xiaosu asked curiously, Aren't you afraid that I won't save you even if I have the energy to do so? I can take a gamble, Wang Yun said with a smile. Okay, it's decided, Ren Xiaosu said. Let's continue with the other information. The information provided by this woman is about the Kong family, which is the faction I belong to, Wang Yun said with a smile. There's no need to hide my identity. I'm sure you know that I'm Wang Yun, the director of the second intelligence department of the Kong family. She said that the death of Kong Erdong, the head of the Kong family's intelligence system, was an accident caused by Anjing Temple's vanilla. I knew this a long time ago, but she also said something I didn't know, that is, Anjing Temple and Wang family have reached an agreement, and there will be assassination plans against Kong family's top leaders in the future. In my opinion, Wang family is probably trying to start a war by doing this. Ren Xiaosu thought to himself that as expected, Anjing Temple and Wang family have been tied together. Wang Yun said, it's just that I don't understand. In fact, politicians don't like assassination as a means, because it's not presentable, and Wang Shengzi, as a mature politician, should do so even more. But now he seems to be a bit unscrupulous, as if, very urgent. Chapter 734 That man. Generally speaking, mature political circles rarely use assassination as a means, because if discovered, it will become a political stain for a person's life. But Wang Shengzi seemed to be not afraid of such a bad reputation, and directly used the most direct means. Of course, it was also because of the existence of the extraordinary that this assassination was possible to succeed. If it were in the past, it would not be so easy. After the individual power breaks through a certain bottleneck, the safety of the superior is difficult to guarantee. This is also the reason why Qingzhen moved directly into the military camp. He is more cautious than others, and he is not like Kong Erdong, who has any bad habits. However, Ren Xiaosu was not particularly concerned about the veiled attacks between Kong and Wang. He asked, what about other intelligence? The other intelligence was provided by the middle-aged man at 7 o'clock, Wang Yun said. I am very sure that he is from Zhou, because I met him in an operation. He said that many of Wang's merchants on the Northwest Business Road are actually veterans of Wang. You also know that Wang has military service. When necessary, everyone can be a soldier, so he thinks that Wang may not have good intentions towards the Northwest. Ren Xiaosu nodded. Before, he was still thinking, a group of people who work hard for the consortium would sell out their power and give intelligence to Wang Yun for 500,000? It is unlikely no matter how you think about it. But now he has discovered that the information given by this group of people is all from other people's families. The main purpose is to get the black medicine and disgust the forces outside their own family. For example, the middle-aged man from Zhou directly made it clear that he wanted to provoke the relationship between Wang and Fortress 178. Anyway, they didn't have any good intentions. At this time, Wang Yun continued, there is another piece of information about King. It was given to me by the young man on the left. He said that Su Ke is likely to leave within a year, and Su Zhi, a rising star of the Su family, will take over all the work of King Group. He said that this may be directly related to the battle in Luochen. Ren Xiaosu nodded indifferently. Although he had a good relationship with the knights, he didn't care about their power change. The remaining two pieces of information were about the mobilization of the Zhou and Wang armies, which Ren Xiaosu cared even less about. After Wang Yun finished speaking the information, he suddenly looked at Ren Xiaosu. Since we are now in a cooperative relationship, can I know your name? Ren Xiaosu thought for a moment and said, sure, my name is Thanks. Thanks. Wang Yun was puzzled. He always felt that this name was a bit weird. To be honest, Wang Yun really didn't react for a while. He was still thinking about what kind of surname Gan was. He had never heard of such a surname. He asked seriously, this is not your full name, what is your full name? Ren Xiaosu pondered for a moment and said, my full name is Thanks. Wang Yun. It's okay if you don't want to say your name, but who are you taking advantage of here? I am very grateful for what you did for me? Exclamation mark. Even if you don't want to say your name, can you be a little more euphemistic and give it a more decent name? Exclamation mark. That night, everyone climbed onto the branches to sleep. It was a bit difficult to fall asleep in the cold weather, with wind blowing in everywhere and worrying about the dangers everywhere. Only Luolan was snoring on the tree branch, which made the sleeping environment of others even worse. When Ren Xiaosu was on guard, he was on guard against the strange plants attacking them, but there was no movement all night. The next morning, everyone was wrapped in an unprecedented fatigue. Entering the wilderness would slowly drain their energy. Even if there was a tent, they would definitely not sleep well at home. Now they had to sleep on the tree, which was even more tormenting. Chang Yu looked at everyone's tired appearance and felt a little worried. In this state, even if they entered the hinterland of the Holy Mountain, I am afraid that most people's combat effectiveness would be greatly reduced. On the other side, Zhou Yingsu came out of the tent refreshed and took the small red flag from Li Shenton. Okay, everyone, don't leave me within a radius of 10 meters when you wash up. We will set off in half an hour. Don't delay. If you delay, everyone will not wait for you. Li Shenton and Vanilla also crossed a canyon. After crossing the canyon, they also encountered the encirclement and suppression of the fire company. However, unlike other teams, the consequence of the encirclement and suppression of the fire company was that several people died in the fire, and Li Shenton's servants had dozens more people. In other aspects, there was no change. Vanilla was a little numb to this. Yesterday, Li Shenton said that their marching plan had to be adjusted. They had to meet up with Chang Yu's team on the other side before exploring the core area of the Holy Mountain. Li Shenton's reason was very sufficient, there is strength in numbers. But Vanilla felt a little powerless. You want to meet up with the people on the opposite side. Is this when the fire in the core area of the Holy Mountain does not exist? This means that they have to step over the fire company first, meet up with their teammates, and then go back to beat up the fire again. This plan is too hasty. It seems that they don't take the fire company seriously at all. At that time, Li Shenton said with a smile, this is the general direction. If we encounter difficulties, we can make temporary adjustments. From the route point of view, we don't have to really cross from the experimental base. There is still a certain distance. Well, Vanilla agreed expressionlessly, as long as you are happy. Very good, Li Shenton smiled and said, you have mastered the basic skills of getting along with me, keep up the good work. Then, when they set out again, they encountered the same problem, that is, the strange underground plants in the woods. They didn't die, but the people who came to encircle them from the fire company died, so Vanilla and the others saw the scene of plants devouring corpses. Originally, Vanilla thought this thing would be a big trouble for them, but Zhou Yingsu quickly took over Li Shenton's little red flag and became the new tour guide. In Zhou Yingsu's words, for her, problems related to plants are not a problem. So, the crisis of crossing the canyon was easily solved by Li Shenton. The crisis of crossing the woods was easily resolved by Zhou Yingsu. At one point, Vanilla felt sorry for Huazhen. It was such a dangerous environment, but they happened to meet Zhou Yingsu and Li Shenton. Things that were very troublesome for other teams seemed to be non-existent in front of Li Shenton and Zhou Yingsu. What made Vanilla most helpless was that the A-level killers in the team seemed to have become accustomed to the feeling of hugging thighs. At the beginning, everyone was very resistant to Li Shenton's arrival, but now they found that with Li Shenton in the team, the chance of survival was instantly raised. When they thought about what other teams were facing at this time, everyone actually had an inexplicable sense of superiority. Others slept in trees at night, and they only needed to watch Li Shenton perform magic around the campfire and shout wow and awesome, that's all. That man, Zhou Yingsu looked at Vanilla, why are you distracted? Follow the team. Vanilla wanted to cry but had no tears. After all, she was well known outside and was widely admired by killers. Why did she become that man here? It sounded like a supporting role. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 735 New Mission. On the way, Cheng Yu would look at Ren Xiaosu suspiciously from time to time. This morning he suddenly remembered that Ren Xiaosu seemed to have not sung nursery rhymes for several days. This singer suddenly stopped singing and dancing, and Cheng Yu felt a little uncomfortable. Don't say it, at least when the singer was still singing and dancing, the atmosphere of the bonfire party in the evening was pretty good. But now, there is only depression. No one spoke, just kept moving forward in silence. No one knew where they would end up and what they would face. Cheng Yu suddenly said, "Hey, you, why don't you show your talent?" Cheng Yu's assistant was shocked on the spot, thinking that this extraordinary person of his was brainwashed by the singer. Why did he take the initiative to ask for a talent show? As a result, Ren Xiaosu just glanced at Cheng Yu, psycho. After saying that, he continued to walk forward. Suddenly Cheng Yu felt insulted. Why did he become crazy? Didn't you always ask for a talent show before? Now I ask you to perform but you don't perform? Exclamation mark. Cheng Yu's assistant said, let's not watch the talent show for now, boss. There's something more serious that needs to be discussed in advance. What is it? Cheng Yu was puzzled. We don't have enough food, Cheng Yu's assistant replied. The journey after entering the mountain is much slower than we expected, and the consumption is also greater than planned. I think it's not just us who have to face this problem, but others as well. In fact, when everyone set out, they would prepare extra supplies on their backs, at least enough for 15 days. Now, only 11 days have passed, and everyone's food is beginning to be stretched. This was completely within Ren Xiaosu's expectations. After all, these people are not people who have lived in the wilderness all year round. They don't have more experience in many things related to wilderness survival, and it's easy to waste food. For example, when sitting by the campfire, although you have already eaten, but the night is long and you don't have much entertainment, will you feel that something is missing in your hands and in your mouth? Eating to kill time is certainly fun, but it's very painful when the food is gone. For example, when Ren Xiaosu had to go out to catch sparrows, he calculated the food he brought very accurately. Unless he was starving, he would never eat his own supplies. But now, this group of people did not have much experience of starving in the wilderness, and they wasted food unconsciously. This is not to say that Cheng Yu and his friends had no self-control or plan. It is true that if you have not starved in the wilderness, it is difficult to have the same awareness as Ren Xiaosu. Of course, this is just Ren Xiaosu's inner ridicule. More importantly, everyone had a good idea before setting off. The mountains and fields of the Holy Mountain looked very rich, and there should be many wild animals to eat. But they did not expect that the fire company was so cruel that they directly released their genetically modified bird-catching spiders to eat all the small animals in the mountain in advance. Before they were released, they could still dig wild vegetables to eat, so they would not starve to death. But now that the plants in the Holy Mountain are so weird, who dares to eat the things here easily? When Ren Xiaosu saw the coriander before, he said that the coriander was already poisonous. Even coriander is poisonous, how can other things be safe? No one dares to gamble with their lives. Cheng Yu sighed and said, eat sparingly and see how long you can last. The assistant had to put this topic aside for the time being. However, they had been traveling for 2 consecutive days without encountering any strange situations. They slept in trees every night and traveled long distances during the day. They felt more and more tired, and the food was finally completely consumed. Cheng Yu and his friends were relatively good. Some people had been hungry for a day, and one person picked wild vegetables and cooked them, but he couldn't get up that night. Ren Xiaosu, who was in charge of night watch, saw with his own eyes that the gray silk pulp appeared again and quickly devoured the teammate who was poisoned to death. In the morning he said to Yang Xianjun, from the beginning, every step was actually calculated by Huazhen. First, strange creatures appeared to create panic, then tarantulas were placed for a sneak attack, and the entire mountain was cleared of animals that could be used as food, and then the canyon was left to let everyone kill each other. I even think that the people from Huazhen have guessed that the team will run out of food, so they simply didn't show up for the past few days, just waiting for us to exhaust ourselves, and they can take advantage of the situation. So, when the food is exhausted, they will begin the real encirclement and suppression. Yang Xianjun nodded, the people who arranged the Huazhen are very smart. We should be able to approach the core area of the Holy Mountain in 2 days, and the remaining 2 days will be the most difficult. That night, everyone sat around their respective campfires, their expressions flickering with the flickering campfire, imagining in their hearts that a rabbit would suddenly break into the camp and be eaten by them. Too hungry. To Ren Xiaosu's surprise, Guangdian suddenly spoke, mission, end the dull atmosphere and cheer up your teammates. Ren Xiaosu looked around at the people around him, wondering if Guangdian wanted him to show his talent, but everyone was hungry at this time, and his talent show wouldn't make them happy. Who would be happy just by watching someone do a split at a critical moment? Sometimes, when Ren Xiaosu was doing a task, it was more like doing a reading comprehension question. He used his strong logical ability to analyze the precise intentions behind the question setter, and then raised the task completion to the perfect level. Ren Xiaosu stood up and walked to the middle of the camp. When Cheng Yu saw him stand up, he thought to himself, is this guy going to start showing his talent again? This is too fickle, isn't it? At this time, Ren Xiaosu said to everyone, I know you don't have enough food, right? Everyone looked at him, but no one spoke. Ren Xiaosu continued, what a coincidence. I brought a lot of food with me this time. I still have a whole pack of compressed biscuits. The 4 words compressed biscuits seemed to have magic power, and they immediately attracted everyone's attention. But Ren Xiaosu changed the subject and said, maybe some people think I'm going to sell them for money again, right? No, I can give the compressed biscuits to everyone for free, but I have a condition. Assistant Cheng Yu asked in confusion, what condition? Ren Xiaosu was silent for a moment and said, each of you perform a talent for me. Cheng Yu. Wang Yun. Ren Xiaosu was very happy because he felt that he had found the right way to complete the task. Since performing his talent alone couldn't make everyone happy, let them perform their own talents. This logic was figured out by Ren Xiaosu after careful consideration. He believed that this palace was only suitable for his talents to be fully utilized. If it were someone else, they might not be able to complete the tasks of this palace. Chapter 736, The Devil Who Whisperer in the Dark. Everyone in the camp looked at each other, and they were a little confused about what kind of a sudden turn of events this was. They had already begun to guess what talent Ren Xiaosu was going to perform this time, but it suddenly took a turn and almost broke their waists. A piece of compressed biscuit was enough for their physical consumption for a day. It was definitely a good thing, and it didn't cost money. But performing talents was too ridiculous. Cheng Yu looked at Ren Xiaosu, do you really think we will sell our self-esteem for a little food? Ren Xiaosu was unhappy, it's just a talent show. Haven't I performed it before? How can it be related to self-esteem? Cheng Yu thought to himself that you are thick-skinned, and we are not thick-skinned. But thinking about Ren Xiaosu's compressed biscuits, he didn't say what he was thinking. A middle-aged man said, everyone present here is probably a well-known figure in their respective organizations. Who do you think will perform a talent for a piece of compressed biscuit? Don't you have any face? At this time, Cheng Yu suddenly looked at the white mask. In terms of the strength ranking of the entire team, Ren Xiaosu in the white mask might be the strongest. Why not divert the trouble to others and let the white mask fight Ren Xiaosu head-on? Cheng Yu smiled and said to Lao Su, you agree with him. Before he finished speaking, Cheng Yu watched the white mask do a split. Cheng Yu and the others were all stunned at the time. You can beat a T5 level master, how can you do a split just like that? This scene completely overturned Cheng Yu's worldview. He was shocked and wondered if he was still in the illusion created by the canyon. Wang Yun, who was standing next to him, smiled. This scene just confirmed his thoughts. It was definitely not a coincidence that the barrier destroyer and the white mask appeared in Luocheng at the same time. The two of them must know each other, and they might even be close friends. Otherwise, how could a strong man like the white mask cooperate with a barrier destroyer so well? Wang Yun felt that he had seen through everything. This information alone was worth tens of millions. Although he still didn't know what the ability of the white mask was, at least he had determined the power of the white mask. When someone wanted to target the 178 fortress in the future, this information would be of great use. At this time, Wang Yun also stood up and said with a smile, then I will also show you a talent. This is the song I learned in the Kong's army before, called the Gorilla Song. As he said that, Wang Yun began to sing. However, at a certain moment when he was singing, his powerful memory ability instantly brought him back to that youthful age. There was no intrigue in the intelligence system. Wang Yun even missed that time a little. Since entering the intelligence system, he no longer dared to say that he was a good person. The subordinate turned around and looked at his superior silently. He suddenly felt that his superior seemed to be worried. Although Wang Yun had been on good terms with his subordinates before, they had never heard Wang Yun sing. Now, with the white mask giving everyone a way out and Wang Yun cooperating, the other people in the camp quickly put down their self-esteem. This matter needed someone to start it so that everyone could put down their faces. But it must be said that this did make the whole camp suddenly cheerful. There was food to eat, and people would continue to make jokes. In the forest, someone was lying on the cliff, holding a military telescope and watching all this. He turned on the headset and said, the plan above needs to be postponed. I found that their food supplies have not been consumed, and they are not tired. Someone in the headset said, how is it possible? What are they doing? The observer of Huazhan hesitated and said, they are singing and dancing, and some are doing splits. There was silence in the headset. After half a minute, someone said, Keep observing, and report back immediately if there is any new situation. Got it. At this time, Cheng Yu and his friends had no idea that someone was remotely observing their every move. He just looked at the people in the camp, then looked at Ren Xiaosu, and sighed, is this a psychopath? This must be a psychopath, Xiankeo said helplessly to Tang Huolong. At this moment, there was also singing and dancing in their camp, but the performers were not from their Enjing temple, but from Huazhan. Xiankeo looked at the large-scale singing and dancing performance in front of her. Hundreds of people from Huazhan Company were jumping around in the open space, doing various difficult movements, which was very festive. Those who don't know the inside story would think that there is a bonfire party here. Tang Huolong whispered, don't let him hear your complaints. I don't want to see you perform for everyone tomorrow night. It's disgusting. Why is it disgusting? Vanilla widened her eyes, I am an idol after all, right? However, as they were talking, the song and dance performance of Huazhan Company gradually stopped. Li Shenton smiled at Si Liren and said, Zio Liren, come to my side. As he said that, Li Shenton picked up a stone beside him and shot it into the darkness of the woods with a flick of his finger. Vanilla and others suddenly looked at the place where the stone disappeared, but there was nothing there. What's even more strange is that the stone flew so fast, but there was no sound feedback. Li Shenton smiled at the darkness. Why? Too many people were arrested, and you finally couldn't bear it. Someone in the darkness smiled and said, why would you and I care about the lives of these people? I just want to see you. Vanilla and others were stunned. The voice in the darkness was exactly the same as Li Shenton's. Si Liren looked at Li Shenton, I'll go kill him. No need. Li Shenton shook his head and turned to the person in the darkness and asked, did you do the traps in East Lake and the Holy Mountain? The voice in the darkness denied, you should know very well that neither of us has the IQ. You're talking nonsense. Li Shenton jumped up angrily, it's okay if you scold yourself, but don't scold me too. Is there any difference? The people in the woods laughed. Of course there is a difference, Li Shenton sneered, you are just a defective product. Really? Then let's wait and see. The man in the woods said this, and turned around and left, instead of rushing out to kill. Vanilla and others finally breathed a sigh of relief and lifted the state of being on high alert. Now their guess has finally been confirmed. There is indeed a second demon whisperer in this holy mountain. Vanilla turned around and saw Li Shenton bounce the silver coin on his fingertips high up. The sound of the silver coin spinning was crisp and pleasant. Vanilla and others suddenly felt refreshed. Vanilla frowned, you want to hypnotize us? Li Shenton said calmly, he gave you a psychological hint when he was talking just now. I'm helping you regain your sanity, so that you won't die without knowing how in the future. I'll make up one chapter first. From today on, I'll make up for it every day until I pay it back. I originally wanted to shirk my responsibility, but it's not my style to updates. I want to be a conscientious author. My condition has slowly recovered. I personally think that some of the recent plots are well written, so I'll ask for monthly votes. You can give as you see fit, and it's okay if you don't. I am a humble author, begging for votes online. Chapter 737, The Steam Train Reappears. I'm curious, why don't you just kill him? Vanilla looked at Li Shenton and asked. Just now, the sound that the demon whisperer copied by the fire was probably only about 50 meters away from them. If Li Shenton was confident that the other party was just a defective product, it should be easy to kill him. Moreover, Li Shenton used the sound of the silver coin in his hand to remove the psychological suggestion for them, which means that the demon whisperer in the woods has the ability to remotely hypnotize through the rhythm of speaking. Since the replica has such an ability, then Li Shenton's original body should be more terrifying. Li Shenton looked at Vanilla and smiled, you are from Anjing Temple, so let me ask you, how many teams that have entered the hinterland of the Holy Mountain are still able to fight? 5, Vanilla answered calmly. There are actually 9 teams in total this time, but 4 of them were directly destroyed on the way into the mountain. Now, these 4 teams are on the way to retreat, but the fire company may not let them leave so easily. Li Shenton smiled and said, so, we are just one of the 5 teams. Why do we have to do everything? Let others share this surprise, right? Vanilla's mouth twitched. Is this a surprise? This is a shock. However, What Li Shenton didn't say was that he didn't want to deal with this replica of himself at all, but was more looking forward to the scene of this replica meeting Ren Xiaosu. So how could this replica die in his hands? Li Shenton had to keep him to meet Ren Xiaosu. When Li Shenton imagined the look of this idiot trying to hypnotize Ren Xiaosu, he laughed out loud. Si Liren next to him glanced at him and said, "You are a mental patient, I'm afraid you will never be cured." Vanilla said, "Have you ever thought about it? What if you have a lot of copies? Since you can copy one, you can copy countless. At that time, 2 fists can't beat 4 hands. Even if he is a defective product, you can't beat so many, right?" But at this time, Li Shenton suddenly frowned. If the technology used by Spark is cloning, then there must be more than one copy. And have you ever thought about it? How come Spark Company has collected dozens of extraordinary gene samples? Then why doesn't even T5 have extraordinary abilities, but only has a terrifyingly high physical fitness? Vanilla was stunned. Yes, they all thought that Spark Company could only extract extraordinary genes to create some low-profile warriors without extraordinary abilities. But now that Li Shenton's replica has appeared, this view has been denied. Then why didn't Spark just let the extraordinary people run all over the streets? Some of the extraordinary people's abilities, even if the replicas are reduced, are also very suitable for fighting as a whole. Li Shenton pondered, you see, everyone's abilities are activated because of a certain opportunity, right? It's not that they are naturally activated when they grow to a certain stage. Spark Company can't copy this opportunity together. That is life experience, not something in the genes. Yes, Vanilla agreed. Then they must have some rare means to activate the extraordinary abilities of a clone, but this means is difficult for Spark Company to operate. For example, it can only be used a few times, so it will only be used by the most powerful, Li Shenton said firmly. Vanilla looked at Li Shenton in astonishment. So you have been talking for a long time, just to find ways to brag that you are the most powerful? This is too shameless. But Vanilla suddenly felt that the inference Li Shenton said might be the truth. Everyone praised Li Shenton as the person closest to God in the era of the rise of the gods. If Spark needs to choose one person from the clones of many extraordinary people to activate the other's ability, then Li Shenton is indeed the best choice. But what is this so-called method? Vanilla asked. Li Shenton looked at Vanilla in surprise. How should I know? Why are you asking me? Vanilla turned and left. He and Li Shenton really couldn't communicate anymore, and he had to send out the intelligence for tonight. But Vanilla just picked up the phone and found that the phone had no signal at all. You know, they are all satellite phones. How can there be no signal just like that? It was fine before. Could it be that Spark Company has implemented a method of shielding interference? Then, Spark will start to get serious. At this time, of the only 5 teams left, Spark Company temporarily gave up the encirclement and suppression of 2 of them. One was because Li Shenton was present, and Spark was unwilling to face the Devil Whisperer directly, so it planned to clear out the other teams first, and then free up its hands to deal with him with all its strength. The power of the Devil Whisperer could even make the Spark Company feel apprehensive when fighting at home. The reason why the other team was temporarily put on hold was that this team was not tired or hungry at all, and was still singing and dancing in their holy mountain. This made the Spark Company a little confused and unable to tell the depth of the situation. According to the Spark's plan, these people who entered the holy mountain should have been almost exhausted, so why did they still have the energy to sing and dance? Of course, the team that they couldn't understand had to be put aside until they dealt with the other 3 teams. That night, just after the replica of the Devil Whisperer in the woods left, the 3 teams in different directions were simultaneously besieged by the Spark Company. For this encirclement, the Spark even dispatched 3 T5-level Dawnbreaker members. The battle lasted from night to morning, and the 3 teams were beaten very badly, with heavy casualties. However, the people who entered the Holy Mountain this time were not good people, so although the Spark Company defeated them, some extraordinary people still had the energy to go into the mountains. The Spark did not pursue them relentlessly. At daybreak, they withdrew their troops directly. The person behind the scenes who was in charge of the Spark methodically weakened everyone's strength, not impatient, but always had a backup plan waiting. At a certain moment, Li Shenton also admitted that the replica of the Devil Whisperer was right. He was not a strategic and scheming person, and he preferred to be straightforward. In general, the action of the Spark Company was very successful, except for one team. The combat troops of the Spark Company over there were just about to encircle and suppress, but a steam train suddenly appeared and took everyone away. The Spark Company couldn't even catch up. But they saw that the steam train crossed the mountains and ridges without any obstacles, which made the combat troops of the Spark Company stunned. But they knew who this was. He was an old friend of the Spark Company, Wang Konggang. After the fall of East Lake, the Spark Company hired Wang Konggang to transport laboratory data, but Wang Konggang ran away with all the data. Chapter 738, Enemies Meet on a Narrow Road. The Spark Company attaches great importance to Li Shunten, and also to Wang Konggang. It's just that they are afraid of Li Shunten, and hate Wang Konggang. You know, Wang Konggang took away the data of an entire laboratory. It goes without saying how valuable this data is. The key is that it interrupted the research of the Spark Company in a certain field. Moreover, Wang Konggang even took the deposit, and he actually did such a thing of going back on his word, which simply violated business principles and human nature. Of course, the Spark Company was not completely confident in Wang Konggang at the beginning. They also sent so many people, and informed Wang Konggang of the location 6 hours in advance, and asked Wang Konggang to come by himself. They did this because they thought that even if Wang Konggang played any tricks, they could kill him. But the reality is that all the people were killed. During this period of time, the Spark was busy with other things and had no time to chase and kill Wang Konggang, but they didn't expect that the other party would come to the Holy Mountain by himself, and once again destroyed their encirclement plan. Can this be tolerated? No one can tolerate it. In the eyes of the Spark Company, Wang Konggang is too arrogant. For the whole night, Spark Company continued to send more people to chase and intercept Wang Konggang's steam train. Everyone on the train was puzzled. Is Spark Company crazy? Why do they hate us so much? On the way, they happened to meet some extraordinary people who had fled from other teams. Strictly speaking, they were not fleeing, but they just left the team and looked for a better opportunity to enter the core area. After seeing these extraordinary people on the train, everyone called them to get on the train. After all, there is strength in numbers. Although they may not know each other, the enemy of Spark is now everyone's friend. As a result, after these extraordinary people got on the train, they found that the pursuit of the steam train was much more intense than the pursuit of them. Someone asked them in confusion, "How did you escape so easily? We haven't gotten rid of the pursuers behind us yet. Do you have any good solutions?" Those extraordinary people were stunned for a moment. There is no good solution. They chased and stopped. Everyone couldn't figure out why the hatred on their side was so great. This situation may seem a bit confusing to those who don't know. However, Wang Konggang, the person involved, was also confused. Although Huazhan Company had issued a wanted order for him before, Huazhan had never taken the time to target him, and Wang Konggang himself was in the wrong. After all, it was not very decent to take the deposit and then run away, so he did not say anything. But now it seems that something is wrong with Wang Konggang. Didn't he just take some money? Why are you so angry? Wang Konggang felt that Huazhan treated their team differently, most likely because of him, or there were some things he didn't know. But he didn't say anything. After all, if he said it, he would become the target of public criticism in the team. He would die by himself, and drag others to die with him. Wang Konggang would definitely prefer the latter. There are also some pretty girls in the team, and they will have a companion when they go down. Of course, if he can survive, it would be more comfortable to be alive. Seeing that the Spark Company behind was still chasing them, Wang Konggang turned around and asked, "Where are you going now? I'll be in charge of driving, and you guys decide the direction." At this time, a person from Anjing Temple said, "Go west." Why go west? Someone asked in confusion. It would have been safer to go east. It is said that the team there has the Devil Whisperer in charge, but we have to cross the Holy Mountain to go east now, which is too dangerous, the person from Anjing Temple said, and there is another team in the west. Have you heard of the White Mask? He is in that team. Everyone in the car looked at each other. Who hasn't heard of the White Mask? Although it appears less frequently, every time it appears, it is quite sensational. And the less frequent appearance makes the White Mask seem more mysterious. The front of the steam train turned and headed straight to the west, but Wang Konggang was thinking on the way. He always felt a vague sense of uneasiness, as if he shouldn't have come to the Holy Mountain, and now he shouldn't go to the west. But he still had a trump card that he hadn't used yet. The big black pot that could be materialized was Wang Konggang's trump card. He felt that his chance of survival was always higher than others. Ren Xiaosu and his friends were still singing and dancing when they heard the whimpering sound of a steam train coming from the mountains, accompanied by the sound of metal and iron clashing when the rails were spliced together. Ren Xiaosu is so familiar with the sound that Yang Xiaojin subconsciously looked at Ren Xiaosu. She was puzzled as to how Ren Xiaosu could suddenly materialize the steam train. But when she saw Ren Xiaosu's equally puzzled expression, she immediately realized that this was not Ren Xiaosu's steam train, but Wang Kongyang's. The steam train was heading straight for the fire. Wang Kongyang saw a strange scene from a distance in the train. Wait, look at that camp. Is there anyone doing splits? Who the hell is in the mood to do splits at this time? Shit, it really is true. Everyone in the train was stunned. They were a little slow to react. How come this team didn't encounter the attack of the fire, and they were still in the mood to do splits here? Exclamation mark. Cheng Yu, who was doing splits, also quickly got up from the ground. He was regretting it now. Cheng Yu had good eyesight, and he could even see the shocked expressions of Wen Kongyang and others in the steam train through the window. In this talent show, Cheng Yu was embarrassed for a long time before he was ranked last, but he was the most embarrassed. Isn't this the ability of Wen Kongyang? Luo Lan asked in confusion. Why are they here? At this time, there was another explosion behind the steam train, and everyone realized that these people were chased here by the fire company. However, after the spark company discovered that the steam train had joined the team to the west, they immediately received an order to retreat and stop pursuing. Everyone on the train breathed a sigh of relief, and the people from Anjing Temple said, "It seems that we made the right choice. There must be someone in this team that the spark company is very afraid of, so we were surrounded and they were not." "Don't say anything else, get off the car quickly," Wang Kongyang said. But as soon as he got off the car, Wang Kongyang saw Ren Xiaosu froze next to the campfire. Ren Xiaosu stood up and slowly approached Wang Kongyang. Ren Xiaosu had not forgotten that this guy had brought a group of bandits to attack them. Now, this is like enemies meeting each other with jealous eyes. Enemies meet on a narrow road. Eat a meal. There are 2 more chapters in the evening. Chapter 739, The Waves Have Not Been Settled. The camp, which was noisy at first, gradually quieted down. Everyone looked at Ren Xiaosu and Wang Kongyang. Even a fool could see that the two knew each other and had a grudge against each other. Ren Xiaosu approached while Wang Kongyang retreated. Yang Xiaojin sat in place, ready to materialize a black sniper at any time to help Ren Xiaosu hunt down the enemy on the opposite side. When Wang Kongyang brought the bandits to attack, she was also there. Among the people present, Cheng Yu and Wang Yun were the most interested in this matter. Wang Kongyang's name was no longer a secret in the underground world. He often helped the consortium with some secret escort tasks, and he was very tight-lipped for money. Earlier, the consortium asked Wang Kongyang to do some ordinary transportation tasks. Later, it was found that there was no relevant information on the black market for Wang Kongyang's work, and then it was realized that this guy's professional ethics was still good, so the cooperation became more and more. Wang Yun alone remembered that the Kong family had cooperated with Wang Kongyang 3 times. However, this Wang Kongyang never took the task of killing people, and seemed to be very cautious. The reason why Wang Yun was interested was that he had always wanted to know Ren Xiaosu's identity, but Ren Xiaosu always gave him all kinds of unreliable excuses. Now Wang Kongyang and Ren Xiaosu had a grudge, so Wang Kongyang might know Ren Xiaosu's identity, so Wang Yun had a new clue. Thinking of this, Wang Yun suddenly stood up and wanted to mediate. But before he could say anything, he was surprised to see Wang Kongyang turned around and ran away, and soon materialized his own steam train, running as fast as he could. Everyone present was stunned, and most people hadn't figured out why this happened. Wang Yun and Cheng Yu looked at Ren Xiaosu silently. You know, Wang Kongyang is a very strong transcendent. Someone in the consortium had already tested Wang Kongyang and found that he was definitely not a mediocre person. But this Wang Kongyang, now seeing Ren Xiaosu, ran away without hesitation? This incident also reflects that their previous speculations were all true. Ren Xiaosu stood still and did not chase Wang Kongyang, but Wang Kongyang started to run away when he was about 180 meters away from him, and the combat troops of the Spark Company were not far away. He did not want to cause trouble. Moreover, the direction Wang Kongyang fled was the direction of the combat troops of the Spark Company. In order to escape, he even dragged the enemy with him and muddied the water. At this time, the troops of the Spark Company were evacuating in an orderly manner. They received instructions not to approach the foreign team in the west. These combat personnel thought that this was a good thing. They also heard the legend that the group of people were fearless and singing and dancing in the mountains. But before they evacuated, the sound of a steam train sounded behind them again. The commander of the combat troops was stunned. Isn't this too rampant? After the team joined, the other party not only did not stop when they saw the good, but also turned around to chase the combat troops of the Spark Company? Do you know whose home court this is? But the commander thought again, no, if the other party didn't have any confidence, would they dare to chase them like this? The commander quickly reported to his superior in the rear on the communication channel, "Sir, after we evacuated, the other side started chasing us, and they seemed very confident." The superior in the communication channel was silent for 2 seconds and then said, "Retreat at full speed, I will arrange for others to go." The commander of Spark Company hung up the communication channel and began to close his eyes and ponder, what is the situation of this team? Why is it so much tougher than Li Shen's team? You know, even Li Shen didn't take the initiative to chase. Wang Kongyang was originally very nervous on the steam train, and he was ready to sacrifice his secret skill. Now that he saw that Spark Company was so afraid of him, he was happy. He didn't want to participate in the muddy water of Shangshan anymore, so it was better to leave. In the camp, Ren Xiaosu silently watched Wang Kongyang leave. Yang Xiaojun walked up to him and whispered, "Why didn't you do it? You should have been able to catch up with him with all your strength just now. Although we may face the resistance of Spark together, you are not afraid of these things." "It's different." Ren Xiaosu shook his head. "If we chase him, we must use Lao Su. This will expose my relationship with the White Mask. And if I kill Wang Kongyang in public, it will not be so easy to use the steam train in the future." Finally, Ren Xiaosu still thought about the problem of having someone take the blame for him in the future. If you want to make trouble for Wang Kongyang, you have to do it secretly, and don't let others find out. In this way, many people will blame Wang Kongyang. For example, the laboratory data in barrier number 73 has now been secretly sent back to Qing by Luolan, but Spark Company still believes that Wang Kongyang did it. Every time he does this kind of thing, Ren Xiaosu will feel happy. In the past, he let Su Xianchu take the blame. We are friends, so he always feels a little guilty. Now that the pot has been shared with Wang Kongyang, the psychological pressure is not so great. At this time, Cheng Yu, Song Qiao and others have already met their colleagues from Anjing Temple. Did you encounter a fire attack? Yes, it suddenly appeared. There were more than 50 people in the team originally, but after this battle, only more than 10 of us ran out. We also met people from another team on the way. The two teams merged and there were only more than 20 people left, said the people from Anjing Temple. But why weren't you attacked here? It doesn't make sense to let you go alone. Song Qiao said that he was a little confused, and Chang Yu suddenly thought, could it be that the atmosphere here was too cheerful, so the fire didn't dare to attack them? Although this answer was outrageous, he couldn't think of any other explanation for a while. It was already very late, and there were still battles going on in other places in the Holy Mountain. It seemed that there were hidden masters among the separated team members, otherwise they would not have been deadlocked with the fire company for so long. Everyone didn't dare to sleep, and changed to a new camp overnight, and stayed there until the second half of the night. Just as the sky was getting light, footsteps were suddenly heard in the woods. The other party was stepping on the soft soil and rotten leaves at dawn. The sound reverberated in his ears, like a strange melody, or like someone whispering in his ear. Ren Xiaosu turned his head and was shocked to find that everyone in the camp had slowly closed their eyes. Looking around, except for him who remained awake, no one else was an exception. The person in the woods came out, and the other party looked at Ren Xiaosu and suddenly asked in surprise, "Why aren't you asleep?" Ren Xiaosu pondered for a while and replied, "I'm not sleepy yet. Now I have to go to the airport to pick up my wife. There's still one chapter left and it will be very late. Let's read it tomorrow morning." Chapter 740, Magic performed by Ren Xiaosu. "Aren't you sleepy yet?" These 4 words echoed in the camp, but everyone else was asleep and couldn't hear his voice at all. Only Ren Xiaosu looked at him calmly, as if he had said a very simple truth, and was a little disgusted by his fuss. But the replica demon whisperer was too unhappy. He was hypnotizing himself. "Big brother, can you be respectful? I hypnotized you, and you said you weren't sleepy, and that was it? At this time, Ren Xiaosu asked, why did you come to the holy mountain? Li Shenton laughed, you can come, why can't I? Where's Xiaoliren? Ren Xiaosu asked. Oh, you mean Xiaoliren, she's asleep, the replica demon whisperer said, but you, what are you doing here? As he spoke, the replica demon whisperer actually sat not far from Ren Xiaosu, across a bonfire, and the two chatted like good friends. The replica demon whisperer had already realized that the young man in front of him knew Li Shenton, and they seemed to have a good relationship. And he has the same appearance as Li Shenton, so he can naturally pass for the real thing. The replica devil whisperer thought to himself, and he didn't know why the other party was not hypnotized. Maybe his mental will was far superior to that of ordinary people. Before, he was most worried that the person who would have an accident was the white mask, but now the white mask fell to the ground and fell asleep, but the boy was fine. But the replica devil whisperer didn't care. He just used a little trick just now. The distance between them was so far, so it was normal for hypnosis to be resisted. And he has many other tricks. Ren Xiaosu said to Li Shenton, of course I have my reasons for coming here, but didn't you say before that you were going to the south to wait for the typhoon? Why did you come to the north? At this moment, the replica Li Shenton was silent for 2 seconds, and he began to think quickly in his mind, because he always felt that Ren Xiaosu was deceiving him. Who would go to the south to wait for a typhoon? The difference between this replica Li Shenton and the real Li Shenton is that one of them is a psychopath and the other is not. You know, Li Shenton was fine when he was a child. He went crazy only because he saw his mother go through hardships. But this replica had never experienced that. So, he couldn't understand why anyone in the world would go to the south to wait for a typhoon. What was the point of waiting for a typhoon? The replica Li Shenton was very cautious and didn't answer this question. He was afraid that if he said too much, he would be exposed. Instead, he stretched out his right hand and suddenly swept it over the campfire. The swaying flame suddenly turned into a vortex. The red light and shadow were constantly stirring. There were also strange symbols in the light and shadow that were shining like stars in the fire. The wind in the mountain forest shuttled through the trees, whistling and colliding the branches, making strange sounds. All this seemed to make people feel like they were on the edge of a weightless abyss and could fall at any time. The replica Li Shenton stared at Ren Xiaosu, but he found that Ren Xiaosu still showed no signs of being hypnotized. He was silent for a long while before asking, do you have anything to say to me? Ren Xiaosu thought for a moment and said, magic? It's pretty good. The replica Li Shenton instantly felt a toothache. What kind of magic is this? This is hypnosis, bro. At this time, the replica Li Shenton had already realized that something was wrong. Although he had not yet exerted his full strength, the opponent's resistance was too strong. This was the only exception after he woke up from the nutrient pool. In this holy mountain, even T5 level can be played with by him in the palm of his hand, but the boy in front of him seemed to have natural antibodies. The replica Li Shenton didn't know that the reason why Li Shenton himself was too lazy to chase him was because he was looking forward to this scene. It was just a pity that he couldn't see the constipated expression on this iron fool's face. In comparison, the real Li Shenton was much more elegant. After knowing that he couldn't hypnotize Ren Xiaosu, he directly chose to be friends with Ren Xiaosu. At this time, Ren Xiaosu asked again, why did you hypnotize others? The replica Li Shenton smiled and said, in order to prevent them from hearing our conversation, I have something very important to tell you. Oh, Ren Xiaosu nodded, then tell me. The replica Li Shenton was silent. What should he say? He didn't have anything really important to say. Isn't this just an excuse? It's obvious that he could just hypnotize everyone and harvest their lives. Who knows how someone could be as good as a hypnotist who didn't have any problems? The replica Li Shenton said, I'll show you another magic trick. What kind of magic do you want to see? I can do any type. Okay, I'll do the one you did for me last time in Los Angeles, Ren Xiaosu said seriously. The replica Li Shenton was speechless. Why do you ask for a different way? How do I know what magic Li Shenton did for you last time? At one point, he even felt that the boy opposite was teasing him. The replica Li Shenton said, that one is meaningless. I'll show you a new one this time. No, just do that one, Ren Xiaosu said. The replica Li Shenton suddenly smiled, okay, let's do that. But at this moment, Every word that the replica Li Shantan said seemed to turn into a vague bird, flying straight into Ren Xiaosu's ears. This sound was like a fine feather caressing the ear, as if a demon was whispering in the ear. The reason why the Devil Whisperer is called the Devil Whisperer is because his most powerful method is this whisper-like hypnosis. Therefore, seeing that all the previous methods had failed, the replica Li Shantan used the last killer move at all costs. He stared straight at Ren Xiaosu, and at this time, the replica Li Shantan finally saw a trace of confusion in Ren Xiaosu's eyes. Change, Ren Xiaosu said confusedly, "What are you dawdling about, or I can perform a magic trick for you." The replica Li Shantan, "Then you change." "Okay, watch carefully." Ren Xiaosu nodded, and as he said that, a dark shadow door actually opened in front of him. The replica version of Li Shantan was stunned for a moment. What kind of magic is this? Ren Xiaosu smiled and reached his hand into the shadow door, then explained, "Oh, this magic is called stabbing in the back in front of someone." The replica version of Li Shantan looked down at the tip of the knife on his chest and the blood gushing out of the wound. He looked up at Ren Xiaosu. "You don't play by the rules." But Ren Xiaosu sighed, "You are not Li Shantan at all. At least Li Shantan will not use hypnosis on me again and again. He also knows that he can't hypnotize me. Moreover, you can't learn his madness at all." The replica version of Li Shantan was a little confused. What kind of strange people came to this holy mountain? Thanks to Big Cat, 2 Cats and 3 Cats for becoming the leader of this book. The boss is generous. Chapter 741 Scientific Ethics. The replica Li Shantan is dead. Just as Li Shantan himself speculated, this idiot will definitely die if he goes to find Ren Xiaosu, without any suspense. It's not that the replica Li Shantan is not powerful. According to what Li Shantan himself said, even if it is just a defective product, it is a replica of Li Shantan, and it must be much more powerful than other extraordinary people. When Li Shantan said this, Zhou Yingsu kept rolling her eyes, wondering how such a narcissistic contestant could become friends with her master. However, no matter how much Xiankao and Zhou Yingsu rolled their eyes, what Li Shantan said was the truth. When the replica Li Shantan came to them before, he gave them a hint in their hearts, and they didn't even notice it. Therefore, most of the extraordinary people in this world will capsize in the gutter when they meet this replica Li Shantan. Of course, Ren Xiaosu is not included in this vast majority of extraordinary people. A hypnotist who meets a contestant who is never afraid of hypnosis will instantly become a super infantryman, and all his outstanding abilities will be useless. Moreover, the replica Li Shantan is nothing compared to Ren Xiaosu in terms of his best tricks. Stabbing someone in the back is definitely not something a decent person can come up with. In fact, from the moment the replica Li Shantan appeared, Ren Xiaosu realized that something was wrong, so he used typhoons and magic to test him. First of all, Li Shantan would never hypnotize him, nor would he hypnotize Yang Xiaojun. Secondly, as Ren Xiaosu said, Li Shantan's crazy temperament is hidden in his bones. On weekdays, he would get along with people like a normal person, but as long as he opened his mouth to say a word, you would feel that kind of madness, like the undercurrents in the deep sea of the other person's heart. Although Ren Xiaosu and Li Shantan did not have much contact, and they did not spend time together, for some reason, Ren Xiaosu felt that he understood each other. Just like Li Shantan also knows him. However, Ren Xiaosu looked at the replica of Li Shantan in front of him, thinking more about, how did this replica of Li Shantan appear? Was it cloned by Huazhan Company? Who else did Huazhan Company clone? Ren Xiaosu had no reliable source of information, so he could not continue to infer. He could only be sure that if they continued to go deeper into the holy mountain, they would definitely see something similar to the replica of Li Shantan, and it would be more difficult than Li Shantan. He looked at the holy mountain. The dawn light had just come from the top of the mountain. No matter what was inside, he had to go in and take a look. At this time, Ren Xiaosu saw that the others were still asleep, so he woke Yang Xiaojun up first and told her what happened. Yang Xiaojun thought for a moment and said, "It's normal that Li Shantan's genes were stolen. The Li family didn't have strict supervision over the mental hospital at the beginning. It was easy for Huazhan to steal his genes." Well, Ren Xiaosu nodded, "I just don't know who else they copied." Yang Xiaojun looked at Ren Xiaosu calmly, "You don't know, or you don't want to believe it." Ren Xiaosu is silent. The two people who are closest to gods in the era of the rise of the gods are actually very close to you, And what's more coincidental is that they both came out of the mental hospital. Yang Xiaojun looked at Ren Xiaosu. I know you are avoiding this question, but face it, the method used by Huazhong Company to copy extraordinary people is definitely not unlimited, otherwise you will see dazzling abilities when facing the T3 level. The genetic samples they have in their hands are more than you think. Yang Xiaojun continued, so, if they are asked to choose a few people to open each other's abilities, they will definitely choose the strongest. Who is the strongest? There are only a few strong people in the world who have been verified by time, among which Li Shenton and Chen Wudi are both outstanding. Since Huazhong has Li Shenton's gene sample, it must have Chen Wudi's. Although the two people are not on the same mental hospital, there is no need to be so lucky. If Huazhong can steal one mental hospital, it can steal 10 more. Yang Xiaojun is the person who knows Ren Xiaosu best, so she knows why Ren Xiaosu dare not guess. Ren Xiaosu sighed and said, I suddenly hate Huazhong a little. In the past, everyone always said that Huazhong violated scientific ethics. I was wondering what scientific ethics is. Some people in this world don't even have ethics. Do they still care about scientific ethics? But until this happened to me, I realized how disgusting this kind of unscrupulous research is. For Huazhong, they are just pursuing a new scientific field, but for people like Ren Xiaosu, it's like a small place in their hearts that is most cherished has been tainted. Don't think about these for now. Ren Xiaosu moved the replica of Li Shen to the middle of the camp, then winked at Yang Xiaojun and pretended to be hypnotized together. Without any external interference, the others sat up and slept until noon before waking up at the same time. Then Cheng Yu's puzzled voice came from the camp. Isn't this Li Shenton? Who killed him? Ren Xiaosu said sleepily, hey, did you do it? Originally, Ren Xiaosu actually wanted to move this replica of Li Shenton in front of Cheng Yu, and then wait for him to wake up and open his eyes to see this big surprise. After all, Cheng Yu was always disgusting him with his weird words along the way. However, Ren Xiaosu thought about it and decided not to do things so badly. The relationship between them had not deteriorated to this point. After the trip to the Holy Mountain was over, everyone would go their separate ways and might not see each other again in their lifetime. Everyone in the camp looked at the body of the replica of Li Shenton and was in doubt. Cheng Yu subconsciously checked his phone to see if his boss had provided any important information, but there was no signal at all. Because Li Shenton did not hide his tracks, many people present knew his appearance. If this matter were to be spread out, it would probably be another event that shocked the world. The legendary Devil Whisperer was dead? However, they didn't even know who did it. Everyone slept in a daze and missed such an important thing? So we all slept until noon, and it was Li Shenton who did it. Cheng Yu asked in confusion, but who here has the ability to kill him? Cheng Yu's assistant tried to test, is it possible that he committed suicide? Ren Xiaosu stood beside Li Shenton's body and said firmly, I saw the wound. It should have been stabbed from the back with a knife. I can't do this myself. It must have been done by one of you. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelists. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 742 Looking for Friends. Ren Xiaosu stood in the camp and looked around, as if he was carefully observing everyone's expressions, as if he was determined to track down the murderer. Yang Xiaojun saw this scene and quickly lowered his head to hide his expression under his cap, afraid that others would see the clues. Why are you looking at me? Cheng Yu quickly defended Ren Xiaosu, I didn't kill him. But you were the first to speak, Ren Xiaosu said, don't you know that in most homicides, the first person to discover the crime scene is the murderer? Cheng Yu was speechless. Is it time to play a reasoning game now? He was too lazy to pay attention to Ren Xiaosu, but instead focused his attention on other people, guessing who did it. Cheng Yu looked at the wound on Li Shenton's body, which looked like a knife wound, and then he immediately associated it with the fact that the white mask used a black knife. Could it be that the white mask did it? Ren Xiaosu quietly sat back next to Yang Xiaojun, letting everyone guess. As a result, Wang Yun suddenly said, no. Everyone looked over and heard Wang Yun say, this Li Shenton must be dead, but why wasn't his body eaten? Did the plants underground suddenly get full? That doesn't make sense. At this time, everyone realized that they almost forgot about it. In order to prevent being attacked by the plants while sleeping, everyone slept on the trees. But now they slept until noon. Not only were they fine, but Li Shenten's body was not eaten by the plants. Could it be that we have walked out of the area of the plants? Cheng Yu asked in confusion. No, Wang Yun shook his head. I think there is something wrong with this Li Shenten. Maybe you haven't studied Li Shenten seriously, but I have. How could such a person die so quietly? Have you ever thought that this might be a fake? For example, is he one of the T6 of the fire company? Fake. Everyone fell into thought. If they were in another place, they would definitely not believe this, but the Holy Mountain is so strange, and this is the research direction of the fire company, so it is not impossible. Luo Lan said, it doesn't matter if it's true or not. Anyway, we don't have to sleep on a tree tonight. For Luo Lan, his focus is always different from others. Don't think too much. You all have to keep moving forward anyway, Wang Yun said with a smile. Instead of delving into what happened, it's better to think about what to do next. Calculating the distance and time, we will probably enter the core area of the Holy Mountain in a day and a half. At that time, will we rely on our own abilities or work together? Cooperation. Someone sneered. Wang Yun, are you serious? Last year, you haven't settled the account for stealing intelligence from my Zhou family. How can we cooperate? Then we have to rely on our own abilities. Wang Yun smiled and said, I don't care. What he said didn't care actually meant that he wanted to follow Ren Xiaosu. This time, he had already given up the plan to compete for the number 001 experimental subject in his heart, and just hoped to get some other gains. And Wang Yun hoped that others would come out to compete with Ren Xiaosu and kick this iron plate. Everyone, Cheng Yu stood up and said, since you are here, I hope you can put aside your past grudges and understand that the Holy Mountain is still the home of the Fire Seed. I know you have been conserving your strength, but with our current strength, we need to unite against the enemy. That's right, Ren Xiaosu echoed. Cheng Yu felt that his passion for giving a speech was immediately extinguished. For some reason, when Ren Xiaosu agreed with him, he suddenly felt that he had said something wrong. He began to doubt himself. The camp suddenly fell into a strange silence. With the addition of people from other teams, this team has reached 85 people. The mixed composition of the personnel gave Cheng Yu a headache. At this time, Cheng Yu looked at the white mask. What are you going to do? What are you doing? Si Liren looked at Li Shenten and asked curiously. At this time, Li Shenten was facing a stream, making all kinds of strange expressions, sometimes shocked, sometimes extremely aggrieved. When Li Shenten heard Si Liren's question, he stood up and explained, oh, that replica of me is dead. How do you know? Vanilla asked in surprise. When he was giving you psychological hints, I also planted a button in his heart. Now that the button is gone, it means that he is gone too, Li Shenten said as a matter of course. Vanilla stopped talking. It turned out that Li Shenten was indeed much stronger than the replica. He could even counterattack the opponent without being discovered by the opponent. But the replica of Li Shenten died too hastily. Everyone couldn't sleep all night because they didn't know how to deal with this replica of Li Shenten. As a result, the other party died at noon the next day. Who killed him? Who has this ability? Is it Zhou Yingxu's boss again? Exclamation mark. Originally, Anjing Temple was the leader of this action. They should have taken all the initiative, but the development of things always makes people unexpected. Vanilla felt like there was a breath stuck in her chest, and she couldn't spit it out. But he's dead. What does it have to do with you making faces? Si Liren asked. Oh, I want to see what expression he had before he died, Li Shenten explained seriously. He looks like me. I can imagine how frustrated and unwilling he was before he died. It's quite interesting to think about it. When the others heard what Li Shenten said, they didn't know how to respond. It's true that mental patients have broad ideas. Then what should we do next? Vanilla asked. Here's what I think, Li Shenten said. First, use these members of the fire company who are controlled by me to open the way in front. If there's any danger, they will die first, and then, we will secretly sing and dance in the back. Everyone was stunned for a moment. Why do we have to sing and dance secretly? Look, I said that you don't care about the life and death of others at all. The people of the fire company died as they said, and you didn't even ask, and you still say I'm a devil. Li Shenten said dissatisfiedly, I think you are the devil. Vanilla yelled in her heart, now you are asking you what we should do, why are you suddenly whitewashing yourself? But he didn't dare to really yell. Instead he tried to calm himself down before asking again, "Let's talk about the serious things. What are you going to do now?" "I'm going to." Li Xian glanced at the depths of the holy mountain, then waved his hand and said, "Go find my friend. Eat a bite, continue at night." Chapter 743, Double Vision. Since they were going to find friends, the atmosphere should be cheerful. So Vanilla and the others followed Li Xian expressionlessly, listening to the members of the fire company singing a long-lost song in front of them, looking for friends, finding a good friend. This song would make the fire company cry, and Vanilla and the others would be silent. On Ren Xiaosu's side, everyone looked at the white mask, wanting to hear what the white mask decided to do. The white mask was silent, and the more it was like this, the heavier the atmosphere in the camp became. Could it be that the white mask didn't know what to do? Or was he also thinking about quitting? Everyone was thinking wildly. But in fact, the reason why the white mask didn't speak was that he couldn't speak. Although Chang Yu began to suspect that the white mask was mute in the past 2 days, he didn't dare to ask. In this silence, Ren Xiaosu looked at the new members. Most of those who were able to escape from the encirclement of the fire company probably had special skills. Even if they were not extraordinary, they had excellent fighting skills. Originally, Ren Xiaosu really wanted to blend into the big team and fish in troubled waters. But now their team has gathered too many people, and even several other teams are slowly merging. In this way, their target is too big, and they may face the full-scale suppression of the Spark Company. They are about to approach the core area of the Holy Mountain, and the signal is also fully blocked. All this is declaring that they will face a more brutal encirclement and suppression. Under such circumstances, Ren Xiaosu wants to act alone. The next moment, Yang Xiaojin suddenly pulled him to roll backwards, and with a puff, a sniper bullet hit the place where they were just sitting. But Ren Xiaosu is fine, but others are not so lucky. A young man who has just merged into the team was penetrated by another sniper bullet before he could get up and dodge. Ren Xiaosu's reaction is not slow. He followed Yang Xiaojin and ran into the woods. The counterattack of the Spark Company came faster than they thought. But he didn't understand why the other party was suddenly in a hurry to take action during the day. Of course, if he knew that Li Xian was leading a team to join him, he would understand that Spark Company was worried that it would be difficult to deal with the two teams after they joined. Luo Lan followed Ren Xiaosu and said, "Wait for me." As he said that, he followed the pace and went to find a cover with Ren Xiaosu and the others. But Luo Lan suddenly found that the two people in front did not seem to be looking for a cover, but seemed to be looking for the best position to counterattack. The white mask also moved. It did not run with Ren Xiaosu, but ran in the opposite direction, so that the others ran in the opposite direction of Ren Xiaosu and Yang Xiaojin. The violent roar of the sniper rifle continued to come, but the sniper obviously did not focus on their small group of people. Instead, Lao Su helped to track all the firepower. However, Chang Yu and others were not soft persimmons that could be manipulated by people. In just a moment, Chang Yu's illusion had been activated. In the whole mountain, there were countless figures running in all directions, so that the sniper hiding in the dark couldn't tell which one was real and which one was fake. Although Chang Yu's illusion didn't have any actual killing power, it could be used to confuse the enemy, which was indeed a unique skill. Chang Yu bought time for everyone. He shouted to the people beside him, "Is there anyone who can deal with the sniper? It's not a good thing to be suppressed like this. My illusion can only last for more than 10 minutes. But no one answered him, as if everyone's ability couldn't kill the enemy remotely. At this time, Chang Yu suddenly remembered something. Isn't the partner of the white mask good at using sniper rifles? He shouted to the white mask, "You let your partner take action, I will create an illusion to cover." But Lao Su was only concerned with running for his life and ignored Chang Yu at all. Chang Yu was anxious. He looked around to see if there was any other hope, but when he looked, he suddenly found that Ren Xiaosu, Yang Xiaojin and others had disappeared, along with Luo Lan, Zhou Qi, and the big liar. Strange, didn't these people follow the main force? At this time, Yang Xiaojin ran and said, "Only Luo Lan and Zhou Qi to fool them to follow." Now it is confirmed that the other side has two snipers, one at 3 o'clock, 721 meters, and one at 4 o'clock, 632 meters. Which one do you choose? 4 o'clock, Ren Xiaosu said. He didn't need to be pretentious about firearms. Yang Xiaojin was better than him, so he chose the simple one. At this time, The two said in unison, 3, 2, 1. Then Luo Lan and others who followed them suddenly saw that the young man and woman in front of them actually knelt on one knee at the same time, and the moment they raised their hands, an identical black sniper rifle appeared. Ren Xiaosu's firearm skills came from Yang Xiaojun. Although he broke through the master level by himself, the foundation was still Yang Xiaojun's. So the two people's smooth movement seemed to be carved out of the same mold in the eyes of Luo Lan and others. They were so tacit that they looked like each other's double images. Even breathing was at the same frequency. Seeing this, the huge appeal made Luo Lan subconsciously hold his breath, fearing to disturb the two people. Then, the gunfire spewed out. The sniper bullets spun out with huge kinetic energy, breaking the barrier of time and space. The fallen leaves beside the two were all stirred up and pushed to both sides by the huge air waves discharged by the sniper rifle. Luo Lan swore that he had never seen such a powerful sniper rifle. What is the difference between this and a cannon? Exclamation mark. The moment before the shot was extremely quiet, but the second after the shot was extremely moving. Ren Xiaosu and Yang Xiaojun's faces remained calm, as if they had done something very ordinary. Luo Lan suddenly turned his head to look in the direction of their shooting, and two groups of blood mist burst out from the distant mountains. This scene was full of strange power and beauty in the irritability. Cheng Yu and others in another direction stopped. The sound of sniper guns on the distant mountains had stopped. Obviously, someone had directly solved the sniper of Spark Company. Who did it? Cheng Yu already had the answer in his mind. Aren't there only 5 people who were not present? Among the 5 people, there were at least 2 snipers cooperating in the shooting. For some reason, Cheng Yu was very sure that these 2 people must be Ren Xiaosu and Yang Xiaojun. Combined with the previous incident of the sniper assisting the white mask, Cheng Yu seemed to come to a conclusion as if he had suddenly realized something. It turned out that the couple was the assistant of the white mask. At this time, Ren Xiaosu and Yang Xiaojun stood up at the same time. Ren Xiaosu smiled and said, "There are no snipers, but this time the Spark Company should have more combat troops approaching. Luo Lan, if it were you in command, what would you do?" Luo Lan replied with a smile, "If it were just me, I would have run away long ago, but if you are here, I would like to give it a try. There are only 3 chapters today. I wish you all a happy new year." Chapter 744, each one depends on his ability. It seemed that Ren Xiaosu and Yang Xiaojun had dealt with the sniper in an instant, which had inspired Luo Lan, so that the fat man Luo suddenly became full of ambition. Or perhaps it was because after Luo Lan awakened and became a transcendent, he had never been able to use his abilities in battle, which made him a little itchy. So while others were running away, Luo Lan had already begun to think about how to cooperate with Ren Xiaosu to fight back. Ren Xiaosu looked at Luo Lan and said, "If it's a battle, this team of dozens of people must be broken up into small groups, otherwise they may not have much advantage in front of an organized combat unit." "I understand that," Luo Lan laughed cheerfully. Qing Zhen said it before. The stupidest thing the Li family did was to concentrate the Nano warriors together, but in fact, these individually powerful warriors are better at guerrilla warfare and infiltration. Our situation is similar now. The big liar asked, "Xiaosu, just tell us what your plan is, and we will cooperate with you." Ren Xiaosu looked at Luo Lan, "How do you use your abilities specifically?" Luo Lan greeted his heroic spirits, and 12 golden shadows walked out of Luo Lan's body one by one. Luo Lan said, "The physical strength of the 12 of them has also been enhanced, but it is still a little behind the extraordinary people. To be honest, I have never thought about how they can exert their combat effectiveness." At this time, Ren Xiaosu thought for a moment, and suddenly took out several boxes of ammunition from the storage space, including 2 heavy machine guns, 10 automatic rifles, and several boxes of bullets and grenades. He said to Luo Lan, "I think they are all professional soldiers, and they are all elites in the Qing army. It is better to let them use hot weapons directly and find a suitable position to suppress the fire company. I have another question, will they die after being shot?" "No," said a Qing soldier, "it will hurt, but it doesn't matter." Ren Xiaosu nodded. Luo Lan's ability seems to be a bit useless. After all, 12 soldiers, even if they are elite, can hardly compete with the extraordinary people head-on. But Ren Xiaosu has developed so many abilities and has played with his abilities in many ways, so he is more experienced in how to develop abilities. These 12 heroes are immortal. How terrifying is a machine gun position that can never be destroyed. This is probably enough to give any army a headache in a large-scale war. And now Luo Lan has only recruited 12 heroes. What if he recruits a group army in the future? Of course, this requires Luo Lan to have enough mental strength. By then, tens of thousands of heroes will fight together and will not die. It is enough to give anyone a headache. Even like Li Shunten, if he plays well, one person is enough to overthrow a consortium. Ren Xiaosu asked Luo Lan, "How many heroes can you summon at most?" Luo Lan thought for a while and said, 12. Oh, Ren Xiaosu nodded. This ability is a bit unfair to Luo Lan. Although the immortal firepower point is also very powerful, it always feels a little bit lacking. However, I am only one map away from the perfect level learning map. This ability can shine in my hands. At this time, Ren Xiaosu said to Luo Lan, "Then you take the 12 heroes to establish a firepower point, and then Yang Xiaojin and I will harvest them." Okay, Luo Lan knew that this would be more dangerous, but how could there be no danger in a war? At the critical moment, Luo Lan has never failed. Now we have snipers, and the other side has none, so Xiaojin and I will hide in the dark to give the other side a sense of oppression. The three of you should be more careful, Ren Xiaosu said, when they find that a machine gun position cannot be destroyed, and we have killed enough enemies, the enemy will shift their attention to the two of us. Luo Lan's eyes lit up. When the fire seed thinks that these are just two snipers, I am afraid it will cost a heavy price. However, what I am most worried about is that the T5 level will join the battle. Don't take it lightly because the previous battle is too easy. The person behind the fire seed is not that stupid. Ren Xiaosu looked at Joki and the big liar. Are you too sure to deal with the T5? Don't worry, the big liar still smiled nonchalantly. Ren Xiaosu was stunned for a moment. He suddenly realized that this big liar might also be a hidden master. Yes, if he was not a master, how could he be so comfortable in the wilderness alone, and have the courage to wander around the periphery of the holy mountain? Joki glanced at the big liar. He is fine, so am I. Okay, take care, everyone. After that, Ren Xiaosu followed Yang Xiaojin into the mountains. After all, the sniper moment still belonged to Yang Xiaojin. Ren Xiaosu knew that he didn't need to use his brain now, just follow Yang Xiaojin. On the other side, those who had been running wildly with Lao Su gradually scattered. Ren Xiaosu knew that they had to break up into small pieces, and of course they could think of it. Although this team is a little embarrassed now, there are really no rookies. The combat troops of the Spark Company have gradually surrounded them in a fan-shaped formation. This formation clearly shows that they want to catch them all in one fell swoop. However, because Cheng Yu and his men were all scattered, the formation of the fire seeds quickly changed, and they were divided into 7 forces to chase the scattered crowd. Cheng Yu glanced at Wang Yun beside him and frowned. "I saw that you made some kind of deal with that young man. Why didn't you go with him?" Wang Yun smiled and said, "Didn't you realize that the 5 of them were together? Although there was a deal, once there was danger, I, an outsider, would be abandoned. We don't have much friendship, so it's better to follow the main force in this case." It's not that Wang Yun didn't want to hug the thigh, but he thought he might not be able to hug it. "Then why are you following me?" Cheng Yu was puzzled. Wang Yun smiled shamelessly and said, "Although your illusion is very weak, you are first class at escaping, and you are also first class at ambushing and killing. How about we cooperate?" "How to cooperate?" Cheng Yu asked calmly. At this time, even colleagues like Song Qiao in Anjing Temple relied on their own abilities, but Cheng Yu's ability required finding strong reinforcements. A team of Hozhen's combat troops passed through the forest and gradually approached the location of Cheng Yu and others. However, in their field of vision, there were only dead trees and rocks, and no one was seen. At the moment when the team passed through this area, the big tree behind them disappeared like light and shadow. Wang Yun sneered and killed the group of people from behind. In just a moment, Wang Yun killed 7 people. The sound of the air bursting after being squeezed was like the roar of artillery fire, deafening. When Hozhen Company reacted, Wang Yun disappeared into the air again. The people of Hozhen wanted to chase him, but they stepped on the air and fell to the ground. The ground that looked solid turned out to be a pit. This forest has been carefully decorated by Cheng Yu, making it difficult to distinguish between the real and the fake. "Open fire," Wang Yun said calmly. His subordinates and Cheng Yu's assistants had long been hiding in that curtain, waiting for an opportunity to move. Chapter 745 Fighting. Cheng Yu's own lethality is limited, but he suddenly found that he and Wang Yun cooperated very well. Only he could see through the essence of the illusion he created. For example, if other people cooperated with him, they would easily be killed by his illusion like the enemy. For example, there is actually a pit on the ground, but it cannot be seen. How can a normal person remember what the original terrain was like in an instant when fighting? So he will get lost with the enemy, and it is possible that the enemy is still fine, but he loses balance and falls into the pit first. But Wang Yun is different. His memory ability is extremely strong. When he joined the Kong's intelligence system, he was amazing. Now, no matter how Cheng Yu's illusion changes, he always remembers what the forest looked like originally, and can quickly plan all the attack routes for himself and how to guide the enemy into the pit. At this time, the battle began. After killing a small number of firefighters, Cheng Yu's illusion scene began to change, so as to prevent the remaining firefighters from finding out the pattern. But Wang Yun was still elusive, and the illusion seemed to have no effect on him at all. Before the battle, Wang Yun had specifically told Cheng Yu, "Your illusion must not be exaggerated or unreal. You sold intelligence before that Ho Zhuang saw through your illusion at a glance. The other party has the ability to identify illusions, right?" Cheng Yu replied, "Yes, they did see through it. Then if a dragon suddenly appeared in the sky, I would also think there was a problem at the first time." Wang Yun said unhappily, "Why don't you just fake a road and let them crash into the mountain? So you haven't grasped the essence of true and false, real and unreal, and I don't know why no one in Anjing Temple reminded you." Cheng Yu was choked for a long time. "Is it okay for me to like dragons? Is it okay for me to be a dragon? If you say so, we can't talk anymore," Wang Yun said speechlessly. But no matter how Cheng Yu argued, Wang Yun reminded him that in fact, using the environment is far more effective than creating a dragon. At this time, Cheng Yu watched Wang Yun appear and disappear with the help of illusions, always appearing in the enemy's defenseless position. He couldn't help but ponder. His own physical fitness was not weak. Could he develop his ability to assassinate at close range? Not to mention, Cheng Yu and Wang Yun cooperated inexplicably. But just when Wang Yun was about to continue harvesting, a man in the woods came over like a cannonball and collided with Wang Yun without any deviation. Wang Yun spit out a mouthful of blood in the air. When he landed, he didn't care how painful it was, and quickly rolled and crawled into the illusion. It was T5. The firefighting troops in front were just cannon fodder. The real killer moves were still in the hands of these T5. They seemed to be the last link of the mantis catching the cicada and the oriole behind. No matter how strong Wang Yun's memory was or how realistic the illusion was, he was caught by this T5 once and was severely injured. He could only hide in the illusion. At this moment, no one dared to breathe, fearing that the other party had the ability to identify the position by sound. T5 stood in the illusion calmly, as if he didn't think Cheng Yu and others could cause him any harm. T5 used his ears to search for abnormal movements nearby. The illusion had not been lifted, and he had no ability to see through it. Cheng Yu looked at Wang Yun silently, but saw Wang Yun making a gesture to him. This gesture was different from the one Luolan and Ren Xiaosu made, but it was a universal tactical gesture, "Cover me." Cheng Yu was stunned when he saw this gesture. Could it be that Wang Yun was so fierce that he wanted to kill T5? There was no time to think about it. Cheng Yu signaled to his assistant to prepare for battle. But something unexpected happened. Wang Yun was lying on the ground quietly, but his internal injuries were too severe, and he couldn't help coughing up blood. This sound was like a death signal. T5's figure disappeared on the spot, and in the blink of an eye, he came to Wang Yun and chopped him down with a knife. "Open fire, save him!" Cheng Yu roared. Now everyone is tied to the same rope. If Wang Yun dies, no one else can survive. Cheng Yu activated the magic to disturb T5's sight with illusions, while Wang Yun's subordinates had already rushed out to save the master regardless of everything. But how could their speed be faster than T5? T5's blade chopped down, and a sharp and piercing whistling sound was heard in the air, but the next moment something strange happened. Wang Yun floated backwards like a feather, and T5's slash was in vain. Wang Yun's body was floating in the sky, like duckweed. T5 rushed to kill one after another, but it was like a child trying to catch a feather in the wind, but it pushed the feather further and further away. Wang Yun yelled, "I can't hold on for long, stop him." The next moment, his four subordinates fired a burst of gunfire, but the bullets could only get stuck on the surface of T5's skin. Wang Yun was furious. This T5 was indeed as strong as the legend said, and even an automatic rifle couldn't penetrate it. Fortunately, the impact of the bullet did have some effect on T5. He turned back and looked at Wang Yun's subordinates coldly, but Wang Yun did not retreat but advanced, and actually floated towards T5. T5 stabbed back with a knife, and Wang Yun's eyes turned red. He pointed a finger at T5's earlobe, and the originally empty air rushed into T5's ears frantically. They kept squeezing in the narrow air canal, so that T5 roared in pain. The knife in T5's hand had already fallen on Wang Yun's chest, but Wang Yun completed the final air explosion, piercing T5's eardrum with strong air pressure, and then penetrated the brain. Sir. Wang Yun's 4 subordinates ran to his landing point, and T5 fell stiffly on the ground. Cheng Yu ran over to check Wang Yun's injuries, thinking that Wang Yun might not survive. But he was shocked to find that Wang Yun was still wearing a thin bulletproof vest. T5's knife even cut through the bulletproof vest. Fortunately, although Wang Yun had a knife wound on his chest, his internal organs were spared. Wang Yun was pale and touched himself. Finally, his arm trembled and he took out a small bottle of black medicine. Apply it to me, quickly, or it will be too late. His blood was rapidly draining, and Wang Yun didn't know if the black medicine could save him. When he went to Ren Xiaosu to buy black medicine, he left some for himself, just in case he was injured in the holy mountain. Cheng Yu sighed. You have to experience the power of T5 in person to know how terrifying it is. I don't know how the white mask crushed T5. It's too scary. Hurry up and leave here, Wang Yun said with difficulty. There's more than one T5. The fire has made a killing this time. If the others don't have a backup plan, they will be in trouble. Sir, where are we going? Asked the subordinate. Wang Yun frowned. Go to Luolan and the others. Do you think they have the strength to deal with T5? Cheng Yu asked curiously. Let's try our best. There will be 2 more chapters in the evening. Chapter 746, One Punch. If he hadn't experienced it himself, Cheng Yu might have a misunderstanding about T5's combat effectiveness. Because he saw with his own eyes how Laosu killed by T5, he didn't know how many coincidences and luck there were in it, he only saw the result. But when they really met, they would understand that T5 was simply enough to crush them in a head-on battle. If Wang Yun hadn't risked his life and used his own ability to kill T5, they would probably have all died now. It must be said that Cheng Yu admired Wang Yun's ruthlessness at the critical moment. Wang Yun was a man with brains, courage, determination, and means. Cheng Yu suddenly felt that it was a pity for him to stay in Kong's. The 3 consortiums in the Central Plains were still competing against each other in the early years, but now in the past few years, Kong's has been played around by Wang's. Counting the actions of the consortium over the years, I always feel that Wang Shengzi's strategy is better. Cheng Yu asked, Wang Yun, in fact, everyone can see that the people of the Kong family are a bit petty. Have you ever thought about moving to another place? Wang Yun lay on the back of his subordinate and was carried forward by his subordinate. He said weakly, don't worry about my affairs. You are being used as cannon fodder by Anjing Temple this time. You should think about yourself. Why did I become a cannon fodder? Cheng Yu was anxious. We came to the holy mountain with a plan this time. How can you make it sound like you are going to die? Then let me ask you, has anyone told you how to retreat? Wang Yun sneered. Cheng Yu paused. When everyone enters the holy mountain, the fire company here will be gone, so you can retreat however you want. Just us. Wang Yun pulled his wound while laughing and immediately began to cough violently. Wang Yun's subordinates hurriedly said, Sir, please stop talking. It doesn't matter. The young man's medicine is indeed magical, Wang Yun said. With this medicine, I can't die. At this time, Cheng Yu stopped talking. In fact, what Wang Yun said was right. The boss did not tell them how to evacuate, and he didn't know where the boss was. Was he a cannon fodder? Just to trap the people of other consortiums to death in the holy mountain? Cheng Yu couldn't be sure. At this moment, many people were still facing the pursuit of the Spark Company, and many of them were cruelly crushed when they encountered T5. The extraordinary people were better. Some people could even work together to check and balance T5, forcing the other party to retreat temporarily, or even work together to kill T5 like Wang Yun. But ordinary people would have no way to survive when they met T5. Everyone entered the holy mountain together, regardless of whether they encountered danger ahead, but today's battle was the real beginning. At this time, Luolan had found a small hillside, and the sound of sniper rifles roared from time to time beside his ears, coming from a very far place. Luolan knew that Ren Xiaosu and Yang Xiaojin weren't already fighting. He sighed and said, "These two people are a headache for anyone who sees them. A lot of people are not as good at killing as them." The heroes beside Luolan dug trenches and built bunkers. They were very skillful in building fortifications. A hero smiled and said, "Boss, everyone has more strength after death, and they can work more efficiently." Luolan looked at them and said, "Who among you will be the machine gunner?" "I'll do it." The team leader stepped forward and said, "Boss, you just wait in the fortifications. The people from the fire seed will never break through the machine gun position." "Okay, your words are enough," Luolan said with a sigh of relief. The big liar asked, "Do you need my help?" "No," the hero smiled. Luolan explained, "These are all the elites of my Qing army. 12 people occupying a high ground can be used as a troop. It's just a pity that this era seems to be unfair to them. These people practiced combat skills day and night to improve their combat literacy, but after the era of the rise of the gods, the abilities they exchanged for with sweat and time will be trampled under the feet of the extraordinary people in minutes." This made Luolan feel unfair, even though he is also an extraordinary person now. While speaking, the combat troops of the Spark Company had already entered the combat area, but the heroes did not shoot directly, but waited. What they have to do is not to scare the Spark away, but to annihilate the opponent. "Squad leader, you can let them advance 120 meters, said a hero. "It's okay, let them come closer." The team leader calculated the distance and said, "We have dealt with these Spark people before. Their physical fitness is far superior to that of ordinary people. They will be shot if they are too far away. I am afraid they will run away." The big liar curled his lips in the fortifications. "I said that you Qingxi are all ruthless people. 12 people are determined to annihilate hundreds of the other side. By the way, what is your ability?" Luolan looked at the big liar curiously. "We in the Qingxi have been paying attention to you for a long time, but why have we never seen you use your ability? Are you just an ordinary person?" The big liar laughed twice. "You will know when T5 appears." While they were talking, the Spark Company finally entered the position preset by the heroes, and then the two machine guns roared like a meat grinder. The people of the Spark Company could never have imagined that there were people who dared to set up a defensive position here and ambush them in turn. And the previous intelligence did not say that heavy machine guns would appear here. Just like the previous intelligence did not mention that there were sniper rifles in this team, these two weapons are not easy to hide. If you bring them, you will be easily discovered. But these inexplicable weapons appeared like magic. If they knew there were heavy machine guns, they would definitely not walk into the machine gun range so rashly. The combat troops of the Spark Company fell in groups, but there was still one person who shuttled between the mountains and fields like a ghost, getting closer and closer to them. Joki glanced at the big liar. "Let's get up, T5 is coming." T5 was getting closer and closer to the machine gun position. The opponent seemed to have no regard for the heavy machine gun. No matter how the heroes adjusted the angle of the heavy machine gun, they could not hit him. At the moment when T5 was about to break into the defensive position, the big liar stood up and patted his butt. "The reason why you haven't seen my ability is that I really don't have any special abilities, only brute force." After saying that, the big liar stepped out of the position with his tattered cloth shoes and met the running beast. Luolan looked at the big liar in confusion. He wondered if he was going to die. But then he saw that the big liar's forearms were full of gnarled muscles after he rolled up his sleeves. He seemed to have suddenly changed from a fortune teller to bodybuilder. This difference made Luolan very uncomfortable. T5 and the big liar collided in the air, and T5, who is always famous for his physical fitness, was knocked back by the big liar's punch. There will be another update later. Chapter 747 Bloody Disaster. It was a plain punch, nothing earth-shattering. The cloth shoes on the feet of the big liar who threw the punch were still torn, but with this punch, even T5 was beaten back. Luolan muttered softly, "Back then, those old men of the Qing family said they wanted to capture him. Now that I think about it, it's a good thing that Qing Zhen said he wanted to maintain the relationship with Fortress 178 and didn't do it. This big liar usually looks like an old man, but I didn't expect him to be a pure power awakener. To be honest, few people take the power system seriously these days, but that's definitely because most power systems are not strong enough." And the big liar, I don't know when he awakened, his brute force can't even resist T5. No wonder this guy can run around everywhere and run to wherever there is danger. This is because he is skilled and bold. At the beginning, Ren Xiaosu also tried to test a big liar, but he didn't test the truth at all. Now, he doesn't pretend anymore. He shows his hand. When fighting with his young commander, he can't just applaud, right? The big liar stepped on his rags and walked towards T5 step by step, saying, "Little brother, I think you will have a blood disaster today." Luolan's mouth twitched. This is the most hardcore fortune teller he has ever seen. If he says you will have a blood disaster, then you will have it. Fortune telling is never wrong, and it is accurate. To be honest, based on the strength that the big liar just showed, 99% of the extraordinary people in the world cannot escape this blood disaster. T5 looked at the big liar and sneered, "Do you think I just used my full strength?" The big liar scratched his head and laughed. It's as if someone used his full strength. As soon as the voice fell, T5 suddenly ran to the left, like an arrow from a bow. As soon as he moved, the big liar also moved, and the two sides always walked side by side. Seeing that he couldn't get rid of the big liar, T5 simply stopped pulling space for himself and collided with the big liar with fists. When these two people fought, the trees nearby suffered. It looked like a punch without much force could easily topple the trees. Luolan, Zhou Qi and others watched, because the two people's tussle and entanglement were as fast as a phantom, and no one dared to help rashly, for fear of hurting their own people. This fight was like a visual feast. Before this, it was really rare to see such a solid fight between extraordinary people. There was no fancy stuff, and every blow was earth-shaking. The ground was shaking. However, it was only a moment. The two sides were fighting to the fullest, but suddenly a delicate blade flipped out of the palm of the big liar's hand, and the fist turned into a free palm. The blade was made of unknown things, and it cut a huge wound on T5's chest. Blood was pouring out. T5 retreated unexpectedly, and said coldly, "You humans are still as despicable as ever." The big liar smiled shyly and said, "You can't just punch, right? How boring." When he said this, he looked exactly the same as when he said to Ren Xiaosu, "You can't just be the one who develops the Northwest." At that time, he had just prepared a very dirty trick to alienate Wang Yun. The big liar, using the identity of a fortune teller to do the work of an intelligence spy, has unparalleled brute force, but likes to hurt people in secret. In his words, all of this is for the development of the Northwest. Do you think this injury can take my life? T5 moved his hands and feet, as if he was going to get serious. But the big liar smiled and said, "It's difficult for me to kill you, but it's easier for others." At this time, T5 was shocked to see that the blood from his wound seemed to be unstoppable. Originally, this small injury would heal completely in 3 hours at most for him, and stopping the bleeding would be a matter of minutes, but now, the bleeding could not be stopped at all. But he reacted quickly. T5 looked up at Zhou Qi in an instant and found that Zhou Qi was smiling at him strangely. Zhou Qi's ability is to control water. It is actually quite difficult to absorb water from the air. Therefore, if he is not by the river during the battle, Zhou Qi will be more passive. But later Qingzhen told him, "Why bother to go far away? The human body is full of water." From then on, Zhou Qi's ability became extremely strange and vicious. He could not control the blood of others without wounds, but now the big liar has created an opportunity for him. T5 is already a dead man in his eyes. T5 turned around and ran when he saw that the situation was not right, but he could not get rid of the entanglement of the big liar. He was caught up by the big liar after running a few steps, and could only fight hastily. As time went by, T5 only felt that he was getting weaker and weaker. The drops of blood were forcibly extracted from his body by Zhou Qi until he was completely shocked. The blood was flying in the air like a blood dragon, flying all the way back to Zhou Qi and circling around him. Big Liar looked at Luolan and the others and grinned, "Not bad." Luolan gave a thumbs up, "Yes, very good, old senior is still heroic and sharp." From now on, Luolan decided to be more polite to Big Liar, so that he wouldn't say that he was in danger of bloodshed one day. Moreover, Luolan suspected that Big Liar had concealed his strength during the fight just now, because the opponent hadn't even stepped on his shoes until now. It's not that Luolan had to pick on the details, but he had seen many masters fight, and it was common for them to step on 1 or 2 pairs of shoes while running wildly. It was really because of their strong physical strength. But Big Liar fought with T5 and didn't even step on his rags. This is to control his strength. The Northwest is really full of hidden dragons and crouching tigers, Luolan muttered quietly. Is it easier to awaken extraordinary abilities if you live in a colder place? Should I suggest to my brother that we send a group of people to the Western Plateau to train? A heroic spirit smiled and said, Boss, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but Chief Qingzhen is already doing this. Okay, you've thought of me before you. Luolan curled his lips. Some people say that extraordinary awakening is directly related to spiritual will, so it should be easier to awaken if you train in a difficult and cold place. Luolan thinks that in the future, there may be people who will go to a harsh environment to practice hard, and maybe a few monsters will appear as a result. However, Luolan is now very at ease. He originally thought that the Holy Mountain was dangerous, but now he finds that the people around him are more fierce than each other. Boss, there are more combat troops of the Fire Seed approaching, said a heroic spirit. What are you waiting for? Fight them. Luolan was immediately full of passion. But before the fire was closed, a sniper bullet flew from nowhere and directly killed the commander of the combat unit. The fire company was originally heading for Luolan and his team, but when the sniper appeared, they immediately changed their target. Luolan sat helplessly on the defensive position. These teammates were too powerful, leaving no room for him to perform. I'm finally asking for some monthly tickets. I'm a humble author, asking for tickets online. Chapter 748, One Hit, One Kill. The sudden attack by the Spark Company lasted from noon to dusk. Some people shed blood on the Holy Mountain, while others showed the true bravery of their nature. The Big Liar had no intention of saving others. Perhaps Ren Xiaosu and Yang Xiaojin were afraid that they would be under too much pressure, so after they eliminated a group of combat troops, they took the initiative to lead away the follow-up reinforcements of the Spark Company. In this case, Luolan certainly decided to cherish this rare opportunity to rest and recuperate. After all, this was an opportunity that Ren Xiaosu risked his life to fight for them, and Luolan would not use Ren Xiaosu's kindness to contribute to others. Moreover, if another T5 appeared at this time, I'm afraid they would be very embarrassed. Ren Xiaosu stepped on the rotten and soft leaves and moved southward. Yang Xiaojin walked in front, looking around from time to time. Once they encountered a suitable ambush location, they would stop and cause heavy damage to the Spark troops behind them again. The Holy Mountain is very dangerous, but the sunset of the Holy Mountain is beautiful. The two men walked on the mountain road with sniper rifles, just like guerrilla comrades, sleeping in the open air together, and killing all enemies together. Perhaps Spark Company did not expect how much pressure these two snipers would bring to their combat troops. According to the original plan, Spark Company could completely suppress Cheng Yu, Wang Yun and all of them with the assistance of its own snipers, and then slowly erode their strength, and finally make the team brought in by Njingxi defeated. But there was a problem with this plan from the beginning. The sniper was gone. In everyone's opinion, the last thing that should have gone wrong with this plan was the sniper. They all hid hundreds of meters away. What does this mean? More than 700 meters sounds very close, but in actual vision, a person at a distance of 700 meters is no bigger than a mosquito. The result was two snipers against two snipers, and Ren Xiaosu and Yang Xiaojin completely defeated Spark. Then the combat troops of Spark Company began to target them. Because snipers have to carry heavy sniper rifles, their physical energy consumption during long journeys will be much higher than that of normal soldiers. In addition, Spark's team is composed of all T3 sequence. It should not be difficult to catch up with the two snipers. Without the distance suppression, the threat of snipers is not that great. Spark Company has many people. But in the subsequent chase, the combat troops of Spark were vomiting blood, but they couldn't catch up with the two people. Moreover, Spark found that the two people wanted to close or distance the distance with ease, without any effort. At this time, they finally realized that these two snipers were actually extraordinary people. To be honest, this is a bit bullying. The sun is about to set, Yang Xiaojin said, looking at a mountain in front of him. Let's complete the final ambush here. The enemy should guess that we are here, but their range is too far away from ours. After dark, it is not so advantageous for snipers, especially in the mountains. Now they are about 2 kilometers away from the combat troops of the Spark Company, and the number of enemies is about 200. According to Yang Xiaojin's estimation, they are enough to solve all hidden dangers here. Even if they can't kill all the pursuers, The remaining ones can't pose a threat to them. Okay, I'll listen to you. Ren Xiaosu climbed up the hillside with his bare hands. When he wanted to turn back and pull Yang Xiaojun, the other party had already climbed up. Facing the dusk, Ren Xiaosu saw that Yang Xiaojun's face was dirty, with dust on the left and right, and her hair was a little messy, but inexplicably attractive. At this moment, the dust on her face was better than the powder on other women's faces. Under the setting sun, this girl actually had a unique stubborn temperament. Ren Xiaosu had never seen her weak. It seemed that they had fought side by side for more time than other times since they met each other. This feeling made Ren Xiaosu feel very secure, because no one would fall behind. Yang Xiaojun found a suitable shooting position skillfully. She observed the target through the scope and said, "Does it look good?" "It looks good," Ren Xiaosu admitted with a smile. "Let's watch slowly after killing these people." "Okay." Ren Xiaosu took out the sight scope. "It's about 2,100 meters away from us." "How far do you plan to wait for them to get to?" 1,560 meters, Yang Xiaojun said. "Let them get closer, so they don't run away." "Okay, I'll observe other directions first to see if there are any T5 sneaking up." "You pay attention to these combat troops." Ren Xiaosu held up the sight scope and began to search the mountains and fields. In fact, the combat troops were not a big threat to them. The only thing that made people worry was that T5 was hiding somewhere. If they were not worried about T5's sneak attack, the two of them would have killed their way back long ago, and there would be no need to fight guerrilla warfare. The most taboo thing in this kind of battlefield is that you think you have a sure win, but in the end you capsize in the ditch. Always preserving strength and preparing for crises is the way to survive. At this time, Ren Xiaosu's heart sank. There are indeed T5s following us. I was wondering why this group of combat troops were still persevering, even though half of them were killed. It turns out that they have a backup plan. 1 T5. Yang Xiaojun asked. 2, Ren Xiaosu said. Distance. 1,800 meters, 7 o'clock. How do you say it? Yang Xiaojun looked at Ren Xiaosu. Get rid of the T5 first. Ren Xiaosu pondered for a moment and said, "Do you remember that our sniper rifle is also equipped with a black bullet?" "What effect?" Yang Xiaojun asked. "I don't know either. I haven't had a chance to try it." "Why not try it this time?" Ren Xiaosu said. "What if there is a surprise? Even if it is of no use, at least we know what this black bullet is used for." Yang Xiaojun's mouth curled up slightly. "I have wanted to try it for a long time." The girl aimed at a T5 in the combat unit in the sunset and suddenly pulled the trigger. A black bullet burst out from the barrel of the gun, and then, affected by the Coriolis force, shuttled through the air in a slightly curved arc. Crossing a distance of nearly 2,000 meters, Ren Xiaosu and Yang Xiaojun originally thought that the bullet would take some time to arrive. After all, the flying speed of the black sniper bullet would take more than 2 seconds to cross 2,000 meters. However, Ren Xiaosu saw in the sight glass that T5 had been hit just halfway through his silent counting process. A large piece of black fog exploded on him, and the bullet pierced through his heart, and T5 was actually hit and flew backwards. Ren Xiaosu and Yang Xiaojun looked at each other, and they both realized the importance of this black bullet. The reason why snipers have no way to deal with extraordinary people at a long distance is that they are easy to be caught by others. Now, the bullet arrived in an instant, and the time was shortened by more than half, and even T5 couldn't dodge it. You must know that the physical fitness of most extraordinary people in this world is not as good as T5, which means that Yang Xiaojun now has the possibility of killing most extraordinary people with one shot. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 749 Little Blackie. I'll have to test the power of this black bullet and its actual ballistic speed when I have a chance, Yang Xiaojun said seriously. Fast speed is a good thing, but if you don't understand it clearly, it may also affect the accuracy. In terms of power, even T5 can be shot through. No one should be able to stop this sniper now. You know, even the bullets of automatic rifles can only be embedded in T5 skin. This kind of physical strength makes ordinary people despair. And now, T5's heart is pierced, and he can't die anymore. Although Yang Xiaojin's sniper rifle was powerful in the past, her own upper limit has always been limited by the objective limitations of the sniper rifle. It's not that the sniper rifle is not powerful, but that the extraordinary people are becoming more and more powerful. But when Yang Xiaojin has a black sniper and develops the ability of black bullets, then Yang Xiaojin's upper limit will be raised again. Wait, this T5's wound is turning black, Ren Xiaosu said. Yang Xiaojin also looked over and saw that the wound on T5's body was spreading black. In just 2 seconds, the whole body turned black. Why did it turn black? Yang Xiaojin turned to look at Ren Xiaosu. Don't you know your own bullets? This is my first time using it, too, Ren Xiaosu said helplessly, but he felt that it would not be easy to turn black. The palace never does anything extra. While the two were talking, another T5 dragged his teammate's body to shelter to check on his teammate's injuries. He opened his teammate's eyelids, but his teammate's pupils had already dilated and he was completely dead. But at this moment, the living T5 was shocked to find that the fingers he had touched his teammate's eyelids also began to turn black. In just 2 seconds, the strange black color spread to his neck. This person retreated in a hurry, but until his whole body turned black, it seemed that there was no pain, it just turned black. T5's face was hideous, he couldn't figure out what was going on. The black color seemed to have penetrated into his skin, and he couldn't rub it off or wipe it off. Just a bullet? But it actually changed his skin? Exclamation mark. Thinking of this, T5 didn't stop, he ran into the woods at the fastest speed. When Yang Xiaojin saw the other party coming out of the rock shelter, she was stunned. What was that black thing just now? Ren Xiaosu was also confused. Is it the other T5? Why is he black too? Yang Xiaojin didn't say anything, and wanted to shoot with a black bullet, but she suddenly found that there was no black bullet. Strange. Is there only one black bullet? Yang Xiaojin asked. Ren Xiaosu thought for a while, and asked the palace in his mind, how many black bullets are there? 1 per day, with 0 as the limit, the palace replied. Ren Xiaosu sighed. He finally had a trick to kill T5 with 1 shot, but there was a time limit. No, there should be other restrictions. Ren Xiaosu hurriedly observed the palace in his mind, and saw the brass typewriter clacking out a line of small words. Thank you coins, -100. It was just a moment, and Ren Xiaosu felt distressed. He only had a few hundred thank you coins now, and now he had used up 1/6 of them. When he saw that it would take 10,000 thank you coins to unlock the third weapon, he felt that it would be a long time in the future, and even gave up accumulating thank you coins temporarily. Now it seems that he has to go back to his old ways. Yang Xiaojin felt a little regretful when she learned that a black bullet could only be fired once a day. Well, let's try firing it again tomorrow. Ren Xiaosu hurriedly said, Ahem, this black bullet is your trump card, how can you show it to others easily? It's better to use it at a critical moment. To be honest, Ren Xiaosu also wanted to save face in front of Yang Xiaojin. He was embarrassed to say that he couldn't afford the thank you coins that were fired once a day, so he wanted to find an excuse to persuade Yang Xiaojin not to use it first. As a result, Yang Xiaojin saw through the truth at a glance. Yang Xiaojin looked at him carefully and understood immediately. Seeing how stingy you are, it must be that there is a price to pay for using black bullets. Okay, I will never use them unless it is a critical moment. Ren Xiaosu smiled happily. In fact, if you are really in danger, you don't have to save money for me. Your safety is the most important. Move quickly, Yang Xiaojin said. Since we have encountered T5, we can't ambush at a fixed location. We have to find a way to get rid of the other T5. At this time, the approaching firefighting force did not know that they had been targeted by the god of death. Suddenly, there was a movement in the woods. The muzzles of the combat troops immediately turned over and could open fire at any time. In the tension, a dark man came out of the woods. Fuck, what is that? The commander in charge of the combat troops yelled, and a firefighting member next to him pulled the trigger directly in tension. T5 fiercely pulled the bullets out of his chest and face. I'm T5036, which bastard fired the gun just now? You are T5036? We have never heard of black people in Huazhong. The commander was stunned. T5 in front of him was so black that he looked like a human. Everyone had no idea what was going on. T5036 said coldly, keep going. The enemy is right in front of you. Go and attract their firepower. I want to kill them. The commander also recognized T-5036's voice and quickly replied that he had received it. After that, T-5036 disappeared into the woods again. The commander whispered, "Could it be that some new genetic drug has been developed in the mountains? Chimpanzee gene? It's hard to say." At this time, Ren Xiaosu and Yang Xiaojun had already started to move. The sun would set in half an hour at most. They had to end this chase before the sun set. The mountains were extremely quiet. There were no wild animals living here, and even the flying birds were eaten clean. Suddenly, Ren Xiaosu heard an explosion behind him. It should be that the people from Huazun had just arrived at their previous ambush site and touched the grenade trap set by Yang Xiaojun. He turned around to see what was happening behind him. But at the moment he turned around, a black shadow suddenly jumped out from behind a rock 10 meters away to his right. T-5036 had sneaked over long ago, and only suddenly attacked at this moment, just to take advantage of Ren Xiaosu's distraction to kill him with one blow. However, when he was in the air, he saw that Ren Xiaosu's mouth curled up slightly. Not good. T-5036 was about to turn his body, but the rotten leaves under him burst open, and Lao Su, wearing a white mask, collided with T-5036 in the air with the force of thunder. "I've been waiting for you for a long time, Xiaohizi," Ren Xiaosu said with a smile. T-5036 was immediately furious. He rolled on the ground, enduring the pain of being attacked, and then looked at Ren Xiaosu fiercely. "Who the hell is Xiaohizi?" There are 2 more updates in the evening. Chapter 750, the third perfect map. Who the hell is the black guy? Ren Xiaosu laughed. Whoever has a black face is the black guy. To be honest, Ren Xiaosu didn't think anything of it at first, but when T-5036 really appeared in front of him, Ren Xiaosu looked at the black player on the opposite side and really couldn't help it. T-5036 grinned. "You can still laugh when you are about to die? Let's see how you can laugh later. Don't wait any longer, start quickly." Ren Xiaosu glanced at the sky. "Otherwise, I won't be able to see you when it gets dark." T-5036 almost vomited blood when he heard this, but Ren Xiaosu said this very seriously, seeing that the T5 on the opposite side was extremely black. At night, if the opponent didn't open his mouth, he might not be able to see where the opponent was. This fight is too disadvantageous. T5 came with a knife, trying to pass Lao Su and kill Ren Xiaosu first, but Lao Su followed him like a shadow and didn't give T5 this opportunity at all. T5 became alert in his heart, and he didn't even notice when the white mask appeared. You know, the news that white mask had killed T-5102 had spread a long time ago. Although he was ranked higher than 102, they were both in the T5 sequence, and 036 was not necessarily stronger than 102. But he didn't know why the white mask was so protective of the irritating boy. Before, Ren Xiaosu controlled Lao Su to take the lead in running away, taking a large number of teammates with him, thus reducing the target of their 5-man team. But soon Lao Su got rid of those people. Apart from anything else, no one could keep up with Lao Su's speed, and Ren Xiaosu would not always keep his trump card outside. After killing a T5, Ren Xiaosu asked Lao Su to ambush here, and he only needed to pass by here. "I'll deal with this white mask first. You'd better commit suicide before I kill him, otherwise it will be difficult for you to even want to die," T-5036 sneered. As he said that, he let go and fought with Lao Su. The two sides kept colliding in the mountains and fields, using the purest physical strength, and were extremely irritable. The trees in the forest were like pieces of paper that had not been touched, and were destroyed by the battle between the two people. Ren Xiaosu turned his head to look at the previous sniper point. The combat troops ambushed by the trap there had turned around and rushed towards them. Just as he was thinking about how to deal with it, a knife shadow suddenly appeared above the tree canopy above him. The knife was as bright as snow, and it seemed to emit a halo under the orange light of the setting sun. Branches broke in front of the blade, and the air was mercilessly divided into airwaves. Before the blade was close to him, the air rolled by the blade had already messed up the ends of Ren Xiaosu's hair. However, when the blade was about to hurt Ren Xiaosu, he saw Ren Xiaosu lower his head slightly to let the blade pass. When the T5, who attacked from the tree canopy, wanted to use the blade with all its strength to slash, Ren Xiaosu had already exerted force on his feet and retreated from the range blocked by the blade. This time, In order to kill these two snipers, fire sent out not 2 but 3 T-5s. Because Ren Xiaosu and Yang Xiaojun disrupted their plan from the beginning, the commander behind the scenes had to solve this biggest hidden danger. The newly appeared T-5 raised his long sword diagonally, but saw the boy opposite him looking up with bloodshot eyes. The city was destroyed, and Xiao Hizi in the battlefield next to him suddenly felt the pressure doubled. Now he was facing Lao Su, who also had the city destruction blessing. Just when Ren Xiaosu wanted to kill T5 while the 32nd city destruction state was still there, he was surprised to hear the voice of the palace. Mission: when will the revenge end? Please express your attitude of reconciliation and improve the relationship with the enemy. At this time, T5019 on the opposite side said with interest, "You can dodge the blade under my sneak attack. I have to say that you are the first one. I think the upper must be very interested in your genes. Bringing you in the white mask back is a great achievement for me and T5036. Ren Xiaosu remained silent and did not speak. T5019 on the other side continued to look at Ren Xiaosu and said, "But I'm curious, what about your companion? Is it because you know you're going to die that you want to delay his escape time?" But Ren Xiaosu didn't want to answer him at all. Just like he said, getting along with the palace is more like doing reading comprehension. How can you understand improving the relationship with the enemy? First, you have to express your attitude, and then improve the relationship. Turn hostility into friendship? If it is a normal completion level, then it's almost there, but Ren Xiaosu wants the perfect level. Be friends? I always feel that it's still a little bit lacking. Be brothers? Ren Xiaosu always feels that it's still not perfect enough. T5019 saw that Ren Xiaosu didn't say a word, and he got a little impatient. "I'm asking you a question, where's your companion?" Ren Xiaosu, "Call me Dad." T5019. "As long as the task can be completed, I am willing to become your father and son." Mission completed, reward, a perfect skill learning map. Just as the palace announced the mission was completed, at the original sniper point, after 2 combatants of the Spark Company were killed by a trap, they found that this place had been abandoned, so they did not search carefully. Moreover, the battle between Lao Su and T5 had already begun, and they rushed down a hillside to kill Ren Xiaosu. So no one noticed that Yang Xiaojun crawled out from a rotten leaf and appeared behind them. The setting sun rumbled into the ground, and the afterglow of the setting sun alternated with the night on her face. "Breathe." Yang Xiaojun knelt on one knee, holding up the black sniper with her arm as stable as a sculpture. She let the world revolve and rotate, and let the mountain wind blow the sky, and her will was as solid as a rock. Killing people is probably what she is best at in her life, not to mention that there is someone who seems to be more important than her own life to attract everyone's attention for her. She can't fail, and she won't fail. Pull the trigger. Bullets flew over the heads of the combat troops. Before T5019 could figure out what was wrong with Ren Xiaosu, he felt a huge crisis coming, like a shadow in the sky. He jumped to the left without hesitation. When he jumped up, T5019 watched the boy smiling at him. With a dull bang, T5019 was hit in the waist by a bullet. The bullet with great kinetic energy could not penetrate his body, but kept spinning around his body, as if someone had stabbed him in the back with a knife, then twisted the handle of the knife, and smashed his internal organs to pieces. But the vitality of the T5 sequence was so strong that even if he was so seriously injured, he still had the strength to struggle to get up. T5019 didn't care about Xiao Hizi's life or death, and wanted to escape alone. Is it a little late to want to escape now? Ren Xiaosu walked after him. T5019 ignored everything behind him, but he suddenly found that a door of nothingness opened on his escape path. The steam train whistled and the rails rang. He had no time to dodge. The steam train crushed T5 under the rails. 16 carriages passed over him, and his life could only dissipate helplessly. On the other side, Lao Su came to meet him with a bloody knife. Ren Xiaosu smiled and jumped on the steam train, and went straight to the combat unit of the Spark Company with Lao Su. But Ren Xiaosu didn't see them. He was going to the sniper point to pick up Yang Xiaojun, where his girl was. The combat troops of the Spark Company were smashed to pieces by the steam train. The commander shouted in the communication channel, "It's Wang Konggang. Wang Konggang has not left the Holy Mountain. Repeat, Wang Konggang has not left the Holy Mountain. There will be another update in the evening, but it will be very late. Sorry that I have been thinking about this chapter for too long and revised it several times. Thanks to Fixiang Jia Beiji, SINOPSIS Heo, and book friend 201901300647355567 for becoming the leaders of this book. The bosses are generous. You are really generous. I was shocked by the screen swiping. Thanks to Lihase and Leo Fang for the large rewards. The two bosses are generous. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.